Hi, welcome back guys, this is your friend WTFW with another fiction. What if Deku become Ben 1000? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. It was a bright morning for new UA high school student Izuku Midoriya. He stood in front of the mirror in his room, adjusting his red tie as he folded the collars on his jacket. Okay, phone, check. Wallet, check. Keys, check. Backpack, check. Izuku said to himself as he felt his pockets and picked up his backpack. Alright, looks like we're good to go. He smiles and looks at himself in the mirror, feeling confident and filled with pride as he took a moment to reflect upon himself, the UA uniform on his body and the Omnitrix on his wrist. Wow, this is really me, Izuku said to himself. I'm really doing this. My first step to being a real hero. Let's not wait any longer. Let's go, plus ultra, Izuku said to himself excitedly as he exited his room and made his way to the front door. Izuku sits down at the edge of the steps, putting on his red trademark sneakers. Inko pokes her head around the corner and approaches her. Are you heading out already, Izuku? Inko asked. Yeah, I don't want to be late on my first day, Izuku responded. Do you have your tissues? Inko asked. Yeah, what about your handkerchief? I have it, Mom, don't worry. I gotta head out now, Izuku explained as he ran towards the door. Izuku, wait, Inko blurted suddenly. What is it, Mom? I have to head out soon, Izuku replied as he turned around. Inko took a short pause, looking at her son in the distinguished school uniform before looking up at Izuku, unable to feel anything but pride and happiness in her son's achievement. You're so unbelievably cool, Izuku, Inko replied. I'm so proud of you. Inko then gives Izuku one last tight hug, to which Izuku quickly returns. Do your best, honey. I know you can do it, Inko stated. Inko lets go of Izuku. Izuku smiles and gives his mother a kiss on her forehead. I will, Mom. Well, I'm off, Izuku said with a bright smile before leaving, shutting the door behind him. He runs down the hallway and jumps a flight of stairs, landing on his feet gracefully and sliding down the railings of the next set of stairs. He reaches the ground floor and nearly bumps into a woman. Izuku spins and manages to narrowly dodge her, however, apologizing for the scare as he ran off to the train station. He runs down the street in a quick pace, jumping off of the safety railings next to the roads, swinging off of the tree branches to keep his momentum. Izuku catches the attention of many citizens but pays them no mind, as he leaps over signs in order to avoid the crowds. After about a 10-minute commute, Izuku manages to barely make to the station. He scans his train pass and dashes towards his train. As the doors to his train began to close, Izuku jumps and rolls past the doors and into the train. Just in time, Izuku said to himself as he sat on the floor of the train. Izuku opens his eyes and notices all of the people looking at him curiously. Slowly getting up, he waves and bows slowly, making his way to a free spot. He sits down and sighs, relaxing his body and taking a moment to catch his breath. He sits back in his seat, looking out at the window behind him. He watches as the buildings and birds fly by and smiles at the sight. Izuku then takes out his phone and scrolls through his news feed. Of course, the top headliner of the news site is an article of All Might being the newest teacher at UA High School, with the second most popular article being one about Ren and his acts of heroism. The title read The Rising Star of Japan, The Vigilantes. Izuku quickly clicks on the link and began reading it, scrolling through the article. The article read, appearing nearly 10 months ago, the vigilantes that were originally seen and thought to be only in Hasu City were now being reported as seen in Mustafu City, as well as other neighboring cities. Originally, these vigilantes were thought to be composed of multiple individuals, all in a group organization planned to rebel against the Hero Association laws put into society. However, over the past several months, with overwhelming confirmation, as well as video footage captured by eyewitnesses at the scenes of crime, we can personally confirm that all the strange vigilantes that appeared 10 months ago are all the quirk of one person, whose true identity has yet to be discovered. Despite meeting negative backlash in the beginning of this vigilante's first appearance, public opinion has shifted over the last 10 months, while online support for the vigilantes have been strong for the last few months. When asking the public on their opinion of the vigilante, this is what the citizens that have been saved by the vigilante had to say on the topic. Izuku then plays the video containing the interviews. I was just walking home from the store one day with my son. I took my eyes off him for 1 minute and he started chasing a cat from across the street. Before I knew it, a truck was at full speed charging towards him. I jumped into the road to save my son. But then before I knew it, this blue feline person thing with super speed saved us both before we got hit. Then he changed into this weird metal thing and stopped the truck from hurting anything else, a woman explained. The woman's son then jumps into the camera's frame. It was so cool. First he was like this fast blue cat thing. Then BWAH. There was like this super bright flash. Then he was that cool magnet guy, and he was all like hoomp 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 with his weird claw hands and stopped the truck completely. It was freaking awesome. The woman's son described. Kaido, don't use that kind of language. In any case, I wanted to thank him, but then he ran off before I even had the chance to. A picture of the vigilante she described then appeared on screen. A picture of the vigilante she described then appeared on screen. The form her son described. There was a bank robbery about 8 months back where my oldest daughter happened to work. They ended up getting robbed by a gang of no-good thugs and took her hostage. Heroes arrived, but they threatened that if they saw a hero step inside the bank. There was a bank robbery about 8 months back where my oldest daughter happened to work. They ended up getting robbed by a gang of no-good thugs and took her hostage. Heroes arrived, but they threatened that if they saw a hero step inside the bank, they would blow up all the hostages. Before the negotiations were even finished, this green tank-like thing rushed in there and put everyone inside to sleep with some kind of gas. If one guy is really all of these weirdos that have been showing up lately, if you're watching, thank you from the bottom of my heart for saving her and everyone else. The old man explained. The form he had described. I was being chased by some thugs one night in a bad part of town. They chased me down a dead-end alleyway and began to tear my clothes. One of them held me down and began to. I was being chased by some thugs one night in a bad part of town. They chased me down a dead-end alleyway and began to tear my clothes. One of them held me down and began to. A woman with blonde explained before breaking into tears. Please, you don't have to continue, the interviewer said to the woman. No, I'm fine. Before they could do anything to me, this gust of wind came from nowhere. Then this turtle creature thing came down and blew them all away. When they tried to charge him, he changed into this blue spider monkey thing and fought them single-handedly. The way he moved was so masterful. He was like a real pro hero. Before I even opened my eyes again, he took down and captured all of the people that attacked me, wrapping them up in his webbing. Then there was this bright green flash and he changed into this other thing with 4 wings. He asked me if I wanted to have him fly me home if it made me feel safer. Whoever you are, thank you. Thank you for saving me. The forms she described. The forms she described. My wife and daughter were 2 of the hostages that villain, Dr. My wife and daughter were 2 of the hostages that villain, Dr. Anemo had taken. I seen it on television. He really can change his forms and has more than one quirk. At first, I didn't agree with what he was doing. I thought he would only make more problems for society. But now, seeing how he easily saved the pro-heroes, the hostages, and how fast he took down the villain, I realize I was wrong about him. Looking over everything he's done these past months, even an idiot can see that he risks his life over and over again and all he ever got was criticism just for being a vigilante. Well, you know what I think now. Someone who keeps doing the right thing without being given even a shred of gratitude from anyone or a paycheck is a real hero to me. If the pros can't recognize the good he's done, then we need a serious reevaluation of what we value in our society. The businessman exclaimed into the camera. Mr. Vigilante, if you're watching this, keep doing what you're doing. The world could use more people like All Might. The video ends and Izuku could only smile proudly, seeing that his sensei was finally being recognized for his acts of heroism. Looks like sensei's been at it lately. Izuku thought to himself as he continued to read the rest of the article. Sensei, a lot of people really like you now. I hope that you somehow saw this, because it's not just me that thinks you're amazing anymore. However, despite this growing support for the vigilante, the pro-heroes seem to disagree and claim that this vigilante may be the one behind most of the crimes, setting them up for him to seem like he's the one stopping them. According to a comment made by Kamui Woods as well as other pro-heroes, it seems almost too convenient that every time there is a major crime happening, the vigilante is always there regardless of place and time. Izuku lets out a nervous chuckle as he read the paragraph, rubbing his neck as he does. Well, I can't really say I blame them for thinking that. Sensei does have a lot of super fast forms, like Fast Track, Jetray, XLR8, even though he doesn't use him that much because of my situation, but still, he can get to the crime way faster than any other hero. Still, even I have to admit, this might be taking it a bit too far, Sensei. Leave some villains for the rest of the heroes, they need jobs too. Then, the speaker inside the train dings, notifying Izuku of his stop. He quickly puts his phone in his pocket and exits the train. He runs out of the station and towards his new school, free running around the hordes of people as he does. As he runs, an old man exits from his shop with a bucket of dirty water. He dumps the water out onto the sidewalk, which nearly hits Izuku but misses due to Izuku's quick reaction of sliding under the water. Sorry about that, young man. The old man yelled to Izuku. It's fine, don't worry about it. Izuku replied, still running. After a few minutes of running, he finally begins to see the school in the distance, standing as tall as it did the first time he had ever laid eyes on it. Upon arrival, Izuku quickly runs inside the building and looks for the class he had been assigned to, 1A. He searches frantically as he does. Class 1A, Class 1A. This place is way too big, Izuku said to himself as he ran around the building. This place is way too big, Izuku said to himself as he ran around the building. There it is, Izuku stated. Wow, that's a big door. Is it for accessibility? Is it for accessibility? So this is the classroom for elites chosen from the exam. Izuku thought as an image of Katsuki appeared in his mind. Izuku quickly shakes his head, snapping him out of his thoughts. Let's just hope I'm not in the same classroom as Izuku said as he opened the door to the sound of two people arguing. Don't put your feet on the desk, a familiar blue-haired boy yelled. Huh, a spiky blonde-haired boy replied. Don't you think that's rude to the UA? Upperclassmen and the people who made the desk. The blue-haired boy asked. Why the hell should I care? What junior high did you go to, you extra? Katsuki replied rudely. Why the hell should I care? What junior high did you go to, you extra? Katsuki replied rudely. Oh universe, why did you do this to me? Izuku thought to himself as he stared through the doorway. What did I do to deserve this? I attended Sumi Private Academy. My name is Tenya Ida. The blue-haired boy replied. Sumi, so you're a damn elite? Huh, I'll have fun crushing you. Katsuki replied. Tenya is shocked by Katsuki's comment. Crushing? That's cruel. Do you truly aim to be a hero? Tenya replied. Katsuki only scoffs at this retort, ending the conversation and filling the room in silence. The two then turned their heads towards the doorway, spotting Izuku still staring at them. You're that kid, Tenya muttered. The entire class then turned their attention to Izuku, who yelped slightly at the sudden attention shift to him. Oh, you're that guy, the one who helped me, Izuku replied. Good morning, Tenya announced to Izuku as he began to march towards Izuku. I am from Sumi Private Academy. My name is, I heard, Izuku yelled, interrupting Tenya. Tenya stops in his tracks and faces Izuku. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you, Ida-kun. Izuku said nervously. Midoriya, I wanted to thank you, Tenya stated. You realized that there was something more to the practical exam, didn't you? That's why you rushed into danger in order to save that girl. Huh, no Izuku responded. I misjudged you. Your actions were so inspirational and valiant. It even inspired me to help you and that girl. However, it took me minutes to act, but you didn't hesitate at all. I hate to admit it, but you acted like more of a hero than I did that day, Tenya declared. You even stood up to that zero-pointer with such valor and power. Should I even tell him that I wasn't aware of the rescue point system? Izuku thought to himself, feeling guilty of leading Tenya on. Oh hey, that curly hair. You're the plain-looking one. A familiar and eager female voice yelled behind Izuku. And the super-fast guy. Izuku looks behind him to see the girl with short brown hair and pink cheeks in a female UA uniform standing behind him. It's the nice person. She looks so good in a uniform. Izuku thought to himself as he looked at the girl. So you two passed after all. I mean, of course you did. After that awesome move you did with that power of yours and that speed. It was so amazing, the girl exclaimed. Izuku blushes at the girl's praise of him. Oh, it was nothing. I just moved before my body could even think. You know, Izuku explained frantically. Amidst their interactions, Katsuki was staring at Izuku with a quiet yet rageful glare. He recalls a meeting with both his and Izuku's homeroom teacher after the news of them passing had gone out a few days ago. I really can't believe we have 2 students from our school matriculating into UA, especially you Midoriya, to be offered a scholarship personally by the principal of UA. I'll admit, I never would have expected it, but what a miracle. Congratulations nonetheless to the both of you, the teacher stated. I'll admit, I never would have expected it, but what a miracle. Congratulations nonetheless to the both of you, the teacher stated. Thank you, sensei, Izuku said while bowing to his homeroom teacher. Just as Katsuki and Izuku exited the room, Izuku began to walk in another direction. Hey, Katsuki yelled out to Izuku. Izuku hardly flinches, however, and looks back at Katsuki, whose eyes were filled with murderous intent. Come with me, Katsuki demanded with a low growl. Katsuki walks away angrily, with Izuku following quietly behind him. After a few minutes of silently walking, Katsuki finally stops behind an isolated part of the school. Tell me, nerd, Katsuki said in a low and menacing tone as he suddenly attacks Izuku. What dirty trick did you use to get into UA? Diku. Izuku's eyes widen as he promptly dodges the attack. Katsuki throws another punch to which Izuku parries easily, countering by pushing Katsuki on his chest, sending Katsuki sliding back. What the fuck? When did he? Katsuki thought to himself as he attacked Izuku again. Izuku takes a deep breath as he prepares to focus. I thought something like this might happen. I don't really want to fight you, Kaken, but I won't be afraid of you anymore, Izuku thought to himself as he prepared to fight. Izuku continues to dodge and parries most of Katsuki's attacks with ease. As Katsuki continues his assault, he becomes visibly angrier with each failed attack. How the fuck is he doing this? Where did he learn how to do this? Katsuki thought to himself as Izuku dodges under him. Katsuki then uses his quirk while throwing another swipe at Izuku, surprising Izuku slightly. Expect nothing, anticipate everything. Ren's voice echoed in Izuku's mind as he stared at Katsuki's glowing palm. Izuku quickly grabs Katsuki's wrist, forcing it to point upwards and explode into the air. Izuku then throws his free arm around Katsuki and trips him by moving his right leg behind Katsuki's, sending him falling to the ground in an instant. No way, Katsuki thought to himself as he fell. There's no way Deku just. Katsuki falls to the floor, grunting in pain as he slowly sits up, rubbing the back of his hand as Izuku looks down at him, panting. Izuku releases a long and slow breath before offering Katsuki his hand. Kaken, whatever you have to say to me, let's just talk, Izuku said as he smiled softly at Katsuki. Please, like how we used to. This gesture, however, only sends Katsuki into a blind rage, being reminded of an unpleasant memory from his childhood. Katsuki yells and uses his explosion to propel himself forward towards Izuku, managing to grab his collar. You think you won, you piece of shit, Katsuki replied as he then slammed Izuku into the wall. Don't you dare look down on me, Deku. Don't you dare look down on me, Deku. The first student from his school to go to UA. My future plan has already been torn to pieces because of you. I told you to go somewhere else, shitty nerd, Katsuki demanded. Izuku's eyes then narrow with a silent rage as he quickly grabs Katsuki's wrist and sweeps Katsuki's leg with his feet, using his free hand to push Katsuki's face downwards as well, sending the enraged blonde back onto his back. Izuku's eyes then narrow with a silent rage as he quickly grabs Katsuki's wrist and sweeps Katsuki's leg with his feet, using his free hand to push Katsuki's face downwards as well, sending the enraged blonde back onto his back. Katsuki sat up, eyes wider than they have ever been as they stare at Izuku's serious face. Pure shock filled his entire being. He had never once lost a fight to anyone, ever since he was a small child. Now, the first person ever to make him question his superiority was Deku. Izuku approaches Katsuki once more, but this time, there was no helping hand to be sighted. Izuku grips his fist as if trying to hold himself back. Kaken, 10 months ago, I met someone who finally believes in me, who stood by me when no one else would, Izuku stated. That person told me that I had what it took to become a hero. I endured a lot of things over the past 10 months. Over that time, I've learned to face myself as a person and conquer my fears, and it was all thanks to that person. That person put me through hell in order to stand where I am now. That's why I'm going to UA. No matter what, Katsuki could only look at Izuku's back as he left him, unsure that it was even the same Izuku who he had known almost all his life. I'm done being held back by these fears, and by you. I'll become a hero, just like him, Izuku declared out loud. I won't let all of his efforts be for nothing. That's why I'll march towards the future and clench it with my bare hands, no matter what, Izuku thought to himself as he walked away from Katsuki. Present, how dare he defy me? Katsuki thought to himself as he looked away from Izuku. Something's definitely up. I wonder if today's just the entrance ceremony. And orientation. I wonder what our teacher's like. The girl with brown hair excitedly stated with Izuku still blushing and covering his face. As so close, Izuku thought to himself. Go somewhere else if you want to play at being friends, an unenergetic and tired voice mysteriously announced to the two. The two students then looked behind them to find a very tired man in a yellow sleeping bag on the floor, staring at them. The two students then looked behind them to find a very tired man in a yellow sleeping bag on the floor, staring at them. This is the hero course, not a playground, the man in the sleeping bag explained slowly as he took out a juice box and drinks it. Izuku, Tenya, and the girl could only stare at the strange man with both terror and shock filling their faces. Izuku, Tenya, and the girl could only stare at the strange man with both terror and shock filling their faces. As something's here, they all collectively thought to themselves. As something's here, they all collectively thought to themselves. End of chapter 23. Holy shit, dudes. 1 Kelvin views on this story I started for fun. I don't really know what to say apart from the normal thank you and that I'm super grateful to you all. I really hope you're enjoying the story so far and pray that you'll stick around for what I have planned for this crossover. I'm super grateful to all the people reading this and thank you from the bottom of my heart. Being able to write these chapters every day and post it to people who actually want to read it has given me so much courage. I have tremendous anxiety and depression problems and started writing this as a way to deal with it all. To see everyone currently enjoying it is really heartwarming for me. Please feel free to comment on anything. I know that my writing isn't the best and some inconsistencies can slip through. I've been having a blast writing this and rewatching both Ben 10 and BNHA episodes from Season 1, revisiting both my childhood and enjoying a truly spectacular anime. Anyways, thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to read this and have a pleasant day. The man in the yellow sleeping bag stood up and began to unzip the bag, taking a step out of it as he does. It took all of 8 seconds for you all to simmer down. Time is limited. You kids aren't rational enough, the man said in a deadpan tone. The entire classroom whisper and gossip about the man, all of them asking the same question. Who is this man? Is he a teacher? But that means that he's a pro hero too, right? He looks so worn out though, like he's barely had a good night's rest. Izuku thought to himself. My name is Shota Aizawa and starting today, I'll be your homeroom teacher. Nice to meet you, the man announced, much to the class's shock. This may be a bit sudden, but put on your gym uniforms and meet me out on the field. In the teacher's office, All Might was sitting at his desk in his yellow suit, reading the teachers of UA. Directory. UA does not follow the traditional path unlike those of more conventional high schools. All Might read out loud. So, even the first day could become a living nightmare depending on who you get. All Might then looks out of the window to look at the city view. A few minutes pass and all of the students from Class 1 are all in their gym uniforms. Looks like you're all here, good. Aizawa commented. Now we can begin the Quirk assessment test. Quirk assessment test. The class of 1 all yelled in unison. What about the entrance ceremony? The orientation? A brown-haired girl yelled. If you're going to become heroes, then you have to put such leisurely events aside. Aizawa replied. UA's selling point is how unrestricted its teaching traditions are. That's how teachers on this premise run their classes. The class is filled with silence as well as confusion at Aizawa's words. They all look at each other with faces of worry, besides Katsuki and Izuku, who look ready and unbothered by this sudden announcement. You kids have been doing these since junior high, too, right? Aizawa asked the class as he pulled out a smartphone with all the listed trials of the assessment. Physical fitness tests where you weren't allowed to use your quirks. Many countries still use average scores taken from the results of students who weren't allowed to use their quirks. If you ask me, it's not at all rational. Regardless, the Ministry of Education is only procrastinating the truth, Aizawa stated as he turned his attention to Izuku. Midoriya. Izuku is a bit startled by the sudden call out, but manages to regain his composure quickly. You finished at the top of the practical exam, right? Aizawa asked Izuku. Everyone's attention immediately turns to Izuku with faces of admiration and slight shock. Bakugo's eyes widen at Aizawa's question, immediately turning his attention to Izuku, who pays no mind to Katsuki. What? This nerd not only got into UA and ruined my plans, but got the highest score on the practical exam. I had 83 villain points. That should be the highest. Katsuki thought to himself as he stared at Izuku, gripping his fist in anger. Yes, Aizawa-sensei, Izuku replied. Your score back in junior high. What was the furthest you could throw the softball? Izuku muttered, slightly embarrassed as he twiddled his thumbs and responded quietly. About 42 meters. Small snickering could be heard behind him as he looks down at the ground, blushing slightly at the sound of his classmate. In that case, try doing it with your quirk, Aizawa said as he handed Izuku the ball. You're free to do anything you want, just stay in the circle when you do. Why yes, Izuku said as he took the ball from Aizawa and made his way to the circle. Izuku stares at the long field in front of him, pondering what alien he should choose for this. The goal of this test is to see just how far we can throw this ball with our quirks. Who should I choose though? Heat Blast. No, he'll just melt the ball if he tries to touch it. Diamond Head. Nah, he's strong, but he's more about durability than raw strength. Maybe if I spin with XLR8. But his claws might have some trouble gripping the ball properly, Izuku thought to himself. In that case, the only option left is Midoriya. Aizawa called out. Hurry up, give it all you got. All right, sorry, Izuku replied, snapping him out of his trance. From the group, Tenya, the brown-haired girl and a boy with neatly combed blonde hair stand next to Katsuki, observing Izuku. Wow, so Midoriya-kun really got the top score on the exams, Tenya commented. That doesn't surprise me, he's got such an amazing quirk, remember? The brown-haired girl replied. Huh, what are you talking about, round face? He's a quirkless small fry, always has been, Katsuki yelled out. And always will be, Katsuki grumbled under his breath. Quirkless, are you not aware of what he managed to do during the exam? Tenya retorted. Yeah, he's got this super strength quirk. He turns all red and muscular like with 4 arms. He took down the 0-pointer with ease and saved everyone. I see, how flashy. We might just be able to get along after all. The blonde boy commented. I heard some rumors that he actually managed to break the school's record, set by All Might years ago. Tenya continued. What? That's impossible. Katsuki yelled out. There's no way he could have beaten All Might's record. It's true. I heard some teachers talking about it earlier in the office. The girl responded. It was the talk of the school. 129 points, that was his score. 129 points. Are you serious? Tenya replied. Yeah, it's crazy, right? The girl responded. Katsuki turns his attention back to Izuku. who is now staring at his Omnitrix. No, I don't believe this. There's no way someone like Deku could manage that. I don't accept this at all. I refuse to believe this. You're just a pebble on the side of my path, Deku, so fucking act like it. Katsuki thought to himself, gripping his fist even tighter, releasing small explosions in his hands as he does, his eyeballs practically popping out of their sockets due to pent-up rage. As Izuku stared at his Omnitrix, he remembers talking to Ren about the mistransformation with him after Principal Nezu, Midnight, and All Might had left his house about a week ago. Ren and Izuku were sitting across from each other in the living room, with Izuku and Inko on the couch and Ren on the floor across the table. A mistransformation. Been a while since I've seen or had one. Ren commented. Wait, you used to get them too, sensei. Izuku blurted. Oh, all the damn time and at the worst possible moments. Don't even get me started on when I had to fight a giant space kraken on a water planet as Wakatrout. Ren commented. Wakatrout used to call Azimuth on the daily, begging him to fix the Omnitrix for me. Old Fart used to say I'm far too busy to deal with such minuscule distractions. Used to call Azimuth on the daily, begging him to fix the Omnitrix for me. Old Fart used to say I'm far too busy to deal with such minuscule distraction. Or something along those lines. Ren explained, mocking Azimuth. Azimuth, Inko asked, looking at Ren. Oh, the first thinker, smartest being in 5 galaxies, creator of the Omnitrix, blah blah blah. He's just a super old version of Izuku's gray matter form. Ren explained. Wait, did I break the Omnitrix? Is Azimuth going to be mad at me? I'm so sorry, sensei. I didn't mean to. I was just super excited for the exam and got a bit ahead of myself, and Izuku rambled on before being karate chopped on the head by Ren. Stop that. Ren yelled. Omnitrix ain't broken. See, since it was made by a Galvan, obviously, it had to be made accessible for a Galvan to test, right? Ren asked. I guess so. Izuku replied. So, that means they didn't really expect someone to slam it down with the might of a Detroit smash. When I finally got an answer from Azimuth, he said that slamming down on the Omnitrix too hard can cause it to time out, forcing it to switch to a random alien due to the sudden hard restart. Ren explained. So, I just slammed it down too hard. Izuku asked. Yeah, but I thought Azimuth fixed all that. I mean, you never mistransformed once during our training, so I never even gave it a second thought. Ren replied. Here, give me your Omnitrix for a minute. Izuku does as instructed and Ren turns the dial left and right while pushing down on it. Suddenly, the dial pops out of the socket completely, making Izuku and Inko scream. It came off. Izuku yelled. Will you two please stop that? Ren demanded. I already got my jacket soaked. I don't need my eardrums bursting too. We're so sorry. Inko and Izuku said in unison. A flash of green light blinds both of them as Ren transforms into an alien that lands on the table with the dial. Gray matter. Ren yelled out. Gray matter then begins to tinker with the Omnitrix dial, taking off its bottom plate and continuing his work. Gray matter then begins to tinker with the Omnitrix dial, taking off its bottom plate and continuing his work. Brilliant. Looks like Azimuth reset all of my hard work. No matter, it's quite simple once you understand the mechanism behind the Omnitrix. All you need is to bypass this circuit here, rewire the coupling module, change the synthetic energy dampener interval here. Gray matter rambled on before jumping off of the table and changing back into Ren, who then happily reattaches the dial onto Izuku's Omnitrix. There, now you should have less mistransformations from now on, Ren declared. It should be able to handle much more powerful slams from now on. But it's not a perfect fix, so just be prepared to improvise from time to time, okay? Ren explained. How did you know how to do that, sensei? Izuku asked as he looked at the dial. Learned how to hack the Omnitrix back when I was 17. Got tired of waiting for Azimuth to fix it for me, so I did it myself. Not that he was happy about it though. But hey, what are you gonna do, right? Ren replied. Izuku then smirks up at Ren with a devious smile. Ren stares back confusingly. You know, I wouldn't have to worry about mistransformations if you just give me the master control now, sensei. Izuku said in a playful tone. Nice try, kid. Ren replied as he rubbed Izuku's hair. Maybe for your 18th birthday present. This test will reveal the truth. Go on, Deku. Show them how pathetic you really are. Then everyone will know that you're just a fraud and you'll get kicked out of this school just like it should have been from the beginning. Katsuki thought to himself as he smirked an evil smile. Izuku takes a deep breath, to which he then puts the ball down. His fellow classmates watch and stare in confusion as Izuku then activates his Omnitrix. The other students hear the sound of Izuku's Omnitrix dial, as does Aizawa, whose eyes widen in sight of this. Izuku then turns the dial until it lands on the alien he needs. Sensei said that it could take more of a hit now. I really hope that's true. Izuku thought to himself as he prepared to slam down the dial. Not too hard, not too hard, not too hard. Izuku then slams the dial of his Omnitrix down. releasing a flash of green light and a small gust of wind, blinding his fellow classmates and Aizawa. When the flash dies down, everyone looks at Izuku, who had now been transformed. It worked, Four Arms said to himself quietly. Izuku's classmates could only stare in amazement at what had just occurred. Izuku's classmates could only stare in amazement at what had just occurred. Aizawa was slightly shocked, but regained his deadpan look almost instantly, still paying attention to Izuku. Now that was flashy. The blonde boy behind Tenya declared. It's that form from the exam. Tenya yelled. See, I told you. I so told you. I told you he had an amazing quirk. Just look at those muscles. The brown-haired girl exclaimed to Katsuki, who was more shocked than everyone else at what he had just witnessed. What the hell? What just happened? What is that thing? Is that Deku? No way. That can't be him. He was born quirkless, Katsuki thought to himself. Four Arms then grabs the ball from beneath his feet. He grips it tightly as he then began to spin rapidly. After spinning for a while, Four Arms finally lets go of the ball, sending it flying through the air. Let's give this ball an extra push, Four Arms yelled as he puffed his chest out. Special move, Sonic Clap. Four Arms yelled as he clapped all of his hands together, releasing a shockwave which propels the ball to fly even further away. Sonic Clap. Four Arms yelled as he clapped all of his hands together, releasing a shockwave which propels the ball to fly even further away. Sonic Clap. Four Arms yelled as he clapped all of his hands together, releasing a shockwave which propels the ball to fly even further away. The wind from the shockwave nearly sends everyone sliding back as they covered their face from the dust. Katsuki, who was also guarding his face, couldn't take his eyes off of Four Arms as he growled at him. Once the dust had settled, the class couldn't help but stare at the minuscule ball in the sky slowly falling back down onto the ground. Once the dust had settled, the class couldn't help but stare at the minuscule ball in the sky slowly falling back down onto the ground. The phone on Aizawa's phone then beeps. He takes a look at the score and calmly walks over to the rest of the students. Know your own maximum first, Aizawa stated to the class as he turned to face them. This is the most rational way to form the foundation of a hero. Aizawa then reveals Four Arms' score on his phone to everyone. 915 meters. The class yelled in unison. Seriously, just how strong are you, dude? A classmate asked. So manly. A spiky red-haired boy yelled out. That was amazing. The brown-haired girl yelled out. What a hero-like score. Four Arms in the background was stretching his arms and back, smiling proudly at his score. I probably could have gotten higher if I put more of my back into it on the first throw, Four Arms stated as he stretched. I think my form was a bit off too, but oh well, can't change the past. The class simply stares in shock at his statement. What a monster, they all thought. Katsuki stares at the score, completely filled with disbelief and white in the face. He was shaking with rage as he turns his attention to Four Arms. What the hell is with that power? Katsuki thought to himself. What the hell is with that power? Katsuki thought to himself. Everyone's quirks manifest by the age of 4. If he had a quirk this entire time, he would have gotten it when we were kids. This isn't possible. What's the meaning of this? Katsuki thought to himself as he then charges at Four Arms, releasing explosions from his hands as he does. Deku, you bastard. Tell me what's going on right now. Before even Aizawa could even react in stopping Katsuki, an explosion is heard. An explosion is heard. The students yelp at the sudden burst of sound. But as Aizawa ran through the smoke with his scarf, Four Arms already had Katsuki pinned down, rendering him immobile as he held Katsuki's hand away from him and his other hand pinned down to the ground. Deku. Katsuki yelled as he looked up at Four Arms from the ground, releasing explosions from his hands out of anger. Don't make this any worse for yourself, Kaken, Four Arms said as he picked Katsuki up from the ground, holding Katsuki's arms behind his back. Sorry about that, Aizawa-sensei, it was just reflex. Reflex. To counter and pin someone charging in so quickly is more than just reflex. Something like that takes time and practice to be able to do without thinking. You must have had good training by someone who knows real combat, Aizawa thought as his eyes glowed at Katsuki and his scarf suddenly grabs his head, restraining his body as well. Four Arms releases his grip on Katsuki, who is instantly pulled in by Aizawa's scarf and makes eye contact with the raging teen. Do that again and I'll expel you on the spot, got it? Keep that rage under control or I'll make sure your dreams end right here and now, Aizawa yelled at Katsuki, who reluctantly stays silent, still brewing with rage. I don't have time to deal with your childish outbursts. You're going to give me dry eye at this rate. Aizawa then releases Katsuki, who is now looking down on the ground quietly. Don't think there haven't been people like you in the past at this school. Let me warn you right now, they rarely ever last long. I suggest you change that attitude of yours if you want to become a hero. Aizawa said before turning his attention to Izuku. As for you, well done, in both the exercise and diffusing the situation. Oh, thank you. It was nothing, Four Arms replied, rubbing his head out of embarrassment. Everyone then runs past Katsuki and up to Four Arms, all asking him questions at once. Dude, that was so cool. Where did you learn to do that? A blonde with a black streak in his hair asked. The way you pinned him down was so manly and tough, a red-haired boy yelled. Indeed, it had quite the flair and elegance. The boy with the combed blonde hair commented. It was very skillful. Do you do martial arts or something? A boy with a large tail asked. That throw, then that clap. Could you always do that? A beautiful girl with a black ponytail asked. Wait, one at a time. I can't understand any of you. Four Arms yelled out as he rubbed his head. Katsuki, however, looks over his shoulder at Four Arms, who was being showered with praise, hands shaking with rage, eyes practically popping out of their sockets as he glared at him. He was always just a pebble on the side of the road. Katsuki thought to himself, a pebble on the side of the road. So where did he get this power? As he continued to stare at Four Arms, he sees an image of a pebble slowly becoming a tall mountain in front of him, completely overshadowing him and the ground he stood on. I won't let you get away with this, Deku. Mark my words. I'll show you the true #1 in this school and leave you in pieces, just how it should have been. Katsuki thought as he releases a small explosion in both of his hands. I'm so excited for this test now. A pink-skinned girl exclaimed. We can use our quirks as much as we want, as expected of the hero course. A boy with black hair replied. This is going to be fun. Looks fun, huh? Aizawa said with a devious smile spreading across his face. The students immediately take notice of his comment and all quiet down. You have exactly 3 years to become true heroes. Will you have an attitude like that the entire time? Aizawa asked the class, who answers with silence. In that case, whoever comes in all 8 tests will be deemed as having no potential and be expelled on the spot. What? The class yells in unison. We're free to do what we want about the circumstances of our students. Aizawa commented as he pushed the bangs of his hair upwards. Welcome to UA. As hero course, last place will be expelled. The brown-haired girl yelled. Last place will be expelled. The brown-haired girl yelled. But it's only the first day of school. Even if it wasn't, this is too unfair. Natural disasters, big accidents and selfish villains. Calamities whose time or place can't be predicted. Japan is covered with unfairness. Heroes are the ones who reverse those situations. Aizawa explained. If you wanted to go hang out and talk with your friends after school, that's too damn bad. For the next 3 years, UA will do all it can to give you one hardship after another. Go beyond, plus ultra and all that. Overcome it with all you've got, Aizawa added, wagging his finger towards the student as he does. As Four Arms hears Aizawa's words, he remembers when he first met Ren as Goop during the villain attack. The situation had seemed impossible, but Ren managed to turn it around, despite the rising odds against him. Dealing with a hostage, as well as a quirkless kid, yet he never gave up and found a way to win. He looks down at his forehands and reflects on everything he had just heard. Everything he said is true. Despite always fighting alone, Sensei managed to always find the path to victory and save everyone. He never gave up, even when facing uneven odds. He always smiled in the face of danger and fought with everything he had. If this is what it takes to become even a bit like Sensei, then I'll charge ahead with everything I have. Four Arms thought to himself as he made a fist with all 4 hands, smiling brightly at Aizawa, who takes notice of this. Tenya, who was next to Four Arms, then takes out a water bottle and begins to drink it as he ponders. This is too serious to be hazing. However, this is the best of the best. There is no choice but to do it, Tenya thought to himself. Katsuki grips his hands and smiles deviously at Four Arms. If that's the case, I'll just have to completely blast you out of the water, Deku. Katsuki thought to himself. Mark my words, Deku. I'll show where you belong, beneath me like the rest of these extras. With that being said, the demonstration's over, Aizawa announced. Let's get started with the real thing. Suddenly, a loud beeping is heard as it catches the rest of the class's attention, all turning their gaze towards Four Arms' dial on his shoulder, which flashed red. Then, a red flash blinds them as Four Arms had changed back into Izuku. You're back, Tenya exclaimed. Izuku chuckles slightly at everyone's attention. I guess the time limit was up, Izuku replied. Time limit? The brown-haired girl asked. Yeah, because of this device on my wrist, the most I can stay in a single form right now is about 10 minutes. It's supposed to help my body get used to the multiple mutation quirks inside my DNA. Izuku explained, showing everyone the Omnitrix. Amazing. I've never seen anything like it, Tenya commented as he observed the device. But why do you need this device to use your quirk? I'll explain it later. We have a test to focus on, remember, Ida-kun? Izuku replied. So focused and driven. Truly, you will make a fine hero, Tenya replied. From a distance, Katsuki was listening in on the 10 minutes. Katsuki whispered to himself. The first test begins, the 50-meter dash. The first two to participate are a frog-like green-haired girl and Tenya. They take their positions at the starting line. A machine with a camera at the end was waiting at the finish line for them to record their times. On your marks, get set. The machine announced as a gunfire is heard. Tenya immediately takes off, leaving the girl behind and crossing the finish line. The girl follows behind as she crosses the finish line as well, with about 2.5 seconds between them. 3.04 seconds. The machine announced for Tenya's score. Tenya stops in and looks at the length of the track. So, I can only go up to third gear for 50 meters. Ida said to himself. Well, I suppose that's to be expected. He's like a fish in water. Aizawa commented. It'll be worth to see what the others can do. The frog girl hopping then looks back to the camera to hear her score. 5.58 seconds. The device announced for the girl's score. The next participants was a boy with a large tail and the brown-haired girl, who was using her quirk to lighten her clothes. On your marks, get set. The machine announced as a gunfire is heard. The girl runs across the field normally as fast as she could as the boy uses his tail to cross the finish line. 5.49 seconds. The machine announced. The brown-haired girl finally crosses the finish line. 7.15 seconds. Hey, that's faster than when I was in junior high. The girl thought to herself. Next, it was the girl with the pink skin and horns against the boy with blonde hair and support item on his stomach. Everyone, you're not being creative enough, the boy declared. On your marks, the machine said in the background. I'll show you what it means to be allowed to use your quirk, the boy declared as he jumped in the air, firing off a laser beam from his stomach and flies towards the finish line. His laser, however, ends about halfway and he falls onto his back. The pink-skinned girl uses her slime-like quirk to practically skate across the track. The boy gets up and uses his laser again. 5.51 seconds. The machine announced for the boy's score. The boy then looks back at the class with a smug look on his face. If I shoot for more than a second, I get a stomachache, he stated. What a drawback, the class thought. Looking at the upper limit of your quirks and the room for growth in each result, it becomes clear to what you can and can't do, Aizawa thought as he looked back at the next participants. That will connect to the creativity needed for you to survive. Izuku and Katsuki took their place next to each other. Katsuki began to stretch his limbs as Izuku does the same. Don't know why you're stretching, Deku. We both know you're gonna lose no matter what, Katsuki stated. Izuku only chuckles as he then stands up straight. He activates the dial on his Omnitrix and scrolls through it until he finds XLR8's silhouette. He slams the dial down and a bright green flash appears once more, this time revealing a new form to Katsuki. We'll see about that, won't we, Kaken? XLR8 replied with a smirk as his visor came down to cover his face. We'll see about that, won't we, Kaken? XLR8 replied with a smirk as his visor came down to cover his face. Katsuki could only stare at Izuku's new transformation in shock, along with his fellow classmates. What the hell? I thought he could only turn into that four-armed fucker, Katsuki thought to himself. No way, a new one. Just how many quirks do you have? His classmates yell out. XLR8 takes his position and looks over to Katsuki. What's wrong? You're not nervous, are you? XLR8 said tauntingly. Katsuki grits his teeth and growls as he takes his position. On your marks, get set. The machine announced as a gunfire is heard. Before Katsuki could even let out an explosion, XLR8 takes off in an instant, leaving behind nothing but dust and wind as he crosses the finish line. 0.62 seconds. The machine announced XLR8's score. Oh man, I was aiming for under half a second, XLR8 yelled in frustration. Half a second. Just how fast can you go? The class yelled in unison. Unbelievable. He's even faster than me, Tenya thought to himself. Katsuki finally crosses the finish line using his explosions to propel himself. 4.13 seconds. Katsuki lands and is instantly paralyzed with disbelief. His arms and hands begin shaking at the thought of Izuku being the one to best him. No way, no way, there's no way this is happening, Katsuki thought to himself. The next test, the grip strength. There was a boy attracting some attention with his 6 arms. Amazing. 540 kilos. Are you a gorilla or something? A boy with black hair exclaimed. No wait, an octopus. Octopuses are sexy. A boy with purple hair commented. Suddenly, a loud crack of a device could be heard as everyone looked towards the direction of the sound. Diamond Head was standing there awkwardly, holding a now destroyed grip strength tester in his hand. Aizawa could only stare at the sight as he then approached Diamond Head. That's destruction of school property, you know, Aizawa commented. I'm sorry, Diamond Head replied as he bowed. What was the last score you could see? I think 873 kilos. His classmates all begin to sweat buckets upon hearing this. They stare at him now out of fear rather than admiration. This guy's unreal, they all thought. The next test, the standing long jump. As everyone was taking their turn taking the test, Izuku was patiently waiting his turn. In front of him was Katsuki, who yells as he uses his explosions to launch himself the furthest out of anyone that had gone so far. Haha, try to beat that, you extras, Katsuki said while looking at Izuku. Midoriya, you're up, Aizawa announced. Izuku eagerly runs up and activates the dial once more. He turns it and slams the dial down, turning into Stinkfly. Everyone at first is amazed at seeing yet another form, but are immediately repulsed by the odor that Stinkfly gave off. Everyone at first is amazed at seeing yet another form, but are immediately repulsed by the odor that Stinkfly gave off. Oh my god, the smell, the boys all yelled. Sorry, Stinkfly said to the class as he flew over the field and landed at a ridiculous distance away from the rest. So not fair, everyone said in unison. The next test, side-to-side jump. At first, the purple-haired boy seemed to be dominating the competition as he bounced from one clump of purple balls to the other. At first, the purple-haired boy seemed to be dominating the competition as he bounced from one clump of purple balls to the other. Whoa, look at him go. A boy yelled out. What about? Before he could even finish that sentence, he looks over at Izuku, who was in his Bosok form and had multiple duplicates teleporting side to side in a flash. Shouldn't have even asked, the class said in unison. The next test begins, the ball throw. Katsuki is the second to last participant. As he prepares to pitch, he takes a deep breath before he throws the ball. I'll blast that score of yours right out of the water, Deku, Katsuki thought to himself. Die. Katsuki throws the ball with all of his strength, releasing the most powerful explosion he could. Izuku could only stare in shock of what he had just yelled out. Die, Izuku muttered. Once the ball had landed, Aizawa showed the score to everyone. 710.9 meters. Whoa, 710 meters. A boy yelled out. That's so amazing. The pink girl yelled. Katsuki only gets angered by his classmates' comments, however. Shut it, you extras, Katsuki yelled. This is nothing. You just can't win with him, huh? The brown-haired girl commented. Ochako Uraraka, your turn, Aizawa called out. Oh, yes sir, the brown-haired girl replied as she took her position in the circle. Ochako uses her quirk and made the ball weightless. She then tosses the ball into the air and everyone watches it as it goes flying off into the sky slowly. Then, Aizawa's phone beeps and he shows everyone the score of infinity. Infinity, everyone yelled out. That's amazing, she got infinity. The boy with the dark blonde hair exclaimed. This class is so not fair anymore. The boy with the black hair stated. Izuku only chuckles at their comments. Katsuki looks at Aizawa's phone and begins to growl even louder as even more explosions explode in his hand. Damn it, first I lost this test to Deku. Now this round-faced bitch. This isn't any of this was supposed to be, Katsuki thought to himself. The next test starts, the seated toe touch. Izuku turns into upgrade and stretches himself up to about a quarter of the length of the gym's floor. Should have expected as much. The red-haired boy asked. The final test, the long-distance run. As expected, XLR8 obliterates the competition by finishing in less than 2 seconds. After everyone had finished their laps, they all gather around Aizawa, waiting their scores. Alright then, I'll quickly tell you the results. The total is simply the marks you got from each test, Aizawa explained. It's a waste of time to explain verbally, so I'll show you the results all at once. As Aizawa opened the projection, Izuku immediately looks at the top score, to which he saw his name being at the number 1 spot. He smiles brightly at the sight of his name. Sensei, it's there. My name, it's really there, Izuku thought to himself. The rankings go as followed. First, Izuku Midoriya. Second, Momoye Urazu. Third, Shoto Todoroki. Fourth, Katsuki Bakugo. Fifth, Tenya Ida. Sixth, Fumikage Takoyami. Seventh, Mizo Shoji. Eighth, Mashurawa Jiro. Ninth, Ijiro Kirishima. 10th, Mina Ashido. 11th, Ochako Uraraka. 12th, Koji Koda. 13th, Rikido Sato. 14th, Tsuyu Sue. 15th, Yuga Aoyama. 16th, Hantasiro. 17th, Denki Kaminari. 18th, Koika Juro. 19th, Toru Hagakure. 20th, Minoru Mainta. The purple-haired boy screamed in terror upon seeing his name in last place. He immediately runs up to Aizawa and proceeds to beg for a second chance. The person in last place is getting expelled. Poor guy. But that's just how it is, I guess, the boys whispered among themselves. And with that out of the way, Aizawa stated as he pushed Mainta off and walked towards Izuku. Suddenly, Aizawa's scarf lunges towards Izuku and wraps him up, pulling him towards Aizawa. Izuku Midoriya, you're out, Aizawa declared. What? Izuku muttered. Izuku Midoriya, you're out, Aizawa stated. What? Izuku muttered. Wait sensei, you said that the person in last place in all the test would be expelled. Ochako yelled out. Midoriya-kun was exceptional in every single test, Tenya declared. You saw for yourself, didn't you, Aizawa sensei? The pink-skinned girl yelled out. This isn't fair. The red-haired boy yelled out. I also said that those I deem without potential will be expelled. You all just assumed I would only expel the one that came in last place. Aizawa replied. Izuku Midoriya, why are you even here? I don't. Izuku stuttered. You probably thought that by getting first place, you'd be the last person to ever be expelled, right? The goal of this test was never about winning anything. It was about to see where you currently stand with your quirk. Yet, all I saw was you aiming for the top score over everyone else. Aizawa angrily stated. It seems this whole scholarship and record-breaking business has gone to your head. Everyone here, unlike you, has only one quirk that they have practiced with for years. They've come here to learn how to use that singular quirk in any type of situation in order to save lives. Yet all I see is you treating this as if it was just some big game. Izuku couldn't answer, let alone breath. His breaths were getting heavier and heavier as the life in his eyes began to diminish. I've been watching you since the exam. You have quite a powerful quirk. However, you can't use your quirk without this thing, right? Aizawa said as his scarf lifted up Izuku's Omnitrix. If I remember correctly, you can only stay in each form for 10 minutes, before timing out and needing 5 minutes to recharge. Tell me, do you plan to just play hero for 10 minutes at a time and become a hindrance to everyone after? Wait, those goggles, this scarf, those eyes. Why didn't I see it before? Izuku thought to himself. This man, he's the Erasure hero, Eraserhead, an underground pro hero. Heroes are always risking their lives for the greater good. Some of them have less powerful quirks than yours, yet they use their quirks that they've trained for years all for the sake of saving people. But all I've seen during this test is your reliance on this device. You've built your entire confidence and plan around having this on your wrist, as well as those strange forms you take on. You have a powerful quirk, anyone can see that, but you're nothing but a liability after 10 minutes of using it. That's all I saw during the tests. Aizawa explained to the still silent Izuku. Support gear functions in order to further extend or work in contrast with the already pre-existing abilities of a hero. But if you're nothing without this device, then maybe you shouldn't have it at all. Being a hero is more than just beating villains. It's about saving lives, and that is no game, something you seem to miss during the test. That's why, Izuku Midoriya, as of right now, you're not worthy of being a hero. Izuku's mind goes blank upon being told those harsh words. Aizawa slowly releases Izuku and turns away from him. He couldn't hear anything. He couldn't feel anything. He could barely see Aizawa's back as the last bit of life from Izuku's eyes leave. I'm not worthy to become a hero, Izuku thought to himself. All my efforts, all my training, Sensei's trust in me, all for nothing. Is this really how it ends? Before it's barely even started, Katsuki stares at Izuku from afar, smiling at the sight. Just as it should have been from the start, Deku, Katsuki thought to himself. Izuku begins to black out due to shock. His vision begins to get blurry and tilts. Before he blacks out, however, he remembers a memory from about 8 months ago. The sound of Izuku grunting could be heard as suddenly he is back on the beach without his shirt, being knocked to the ground by Ren. Again, keep those hands up and that form strong, Ren yelled. Izuku sits up and rubs his head in pain. Come on, sensei, can't you go even a little bit easier on me? Izuku pleaded. Do you expect a real villain to go easy if you beg to him like that? Ren replied. Shouldn't we be training with the Omnitrix then? I get the whole free running training, but is hand-to-hand combat really necessary? Izuku asked. I mean, I'll probably be just in my alien form most of the time anyway, right? The Omnitrix is a powerful device, there's no question about that. But even it has its limits. Since you're working with the time limiter, you need to be able to have the skill set necessary to save someone or even fight in your human form, Ren explained as he walked over to Izuku. The Omnitrix shouldn't give you purpose, you should give the Omnitrix purpose. The dial won't slam itself, the forms won't move without a conscious. It isn't the Omnitrix that does all that, it's all you. You're the one that needs to move with purpose, in alien form or human form. Ren offers a helping hand to Izuku, to which Izuku looks up at Ren, who smiled brightly. Izuku, the Omnitrix, despite all of its power, it's just a gadget, Ren stated. You're the one that needs to be the hero. The heart that beat so proudly that day. The kid that ran straight into danger with no hesitation, he's the real hero. All these forms, they're all you. Everything the human you can do, they can extend even further. So if the human Izuku can easily roundhouse kick a villain in the face, what do you think an alien like 4 arms will be able to accomplish with that skill Izuku learned? Ren declared. What do you say? Wanna find out? Izuku then takes Ren's hand and grips it firmly. As he does, Izuku is brought back to reality, where he is now gripping Aizawa's scarf, shocking the entire class in Aizawa. who looks back with slight annoyance. I've already told you, Midoriya, you're wrong, Izuku said, interrupting Aizawa. Aizawa stares at Izuku curiously as he continued to hold onto his scarf. Izuku slowly looks up at Aizawa with a weak smile on his face. He begins to remember Ren's words to him echoing through his mind. It's just a gadget. Be the hero, Aizawa-sensei. Everything you said about me needing this device to use my quirk. It's all true. Without this device, I can't use my quirk properly. But you're wrong about one thing, Izuku said as he gripped the strand of Aizawa's scarf tighter, slowly being filled with determination. I've come too far to be stopped now. I won't let the future I want to achieve slip away so easily. For myself, Mom, and Sensei, I need to take a hold of this future on my own. This device is not everything I am. All you've seen are the forms I can change into, but all these forms are just extensions of me. They're all just a reflection of Izuku Midoriya. Izuku boldly and loudly declared. So that's why. Give me a chance to prove it to you, that I can be a hero, even without this item. And how do you suppose you do that? Aizawa asked. After a brief pause, Izuku grips his free hand and forms a fist. Fight me, Eraserhead, Izuku yelled out. I'll show you what I'm really capable of. Aizawa stares at Izuku's determined eyes and fractured smile. If I win, I get to stay. But if I lose, then I'll leave quietly, Izuku declared. What do you say, Aizawa-sensei? Do we have a deal? Aizawa then turns to face Izuku, his eyes glowing red and his hair along with his scarf all standing up and floating. Very well, you had better be prepared, Izuku Midoriya, Aizawa said as his eyes glowed red and his hair stood up. I won't go easy on you. I'll fight you just as I would with any villain. Don't regret this later, brat, Aizawa stated. Izuku gulps, but then flashes another smile. Give me all you've got, Aizawa-sensei, Izuku replied as he released the strand of Aizawa's scarf in his hand. A few minutes pass. Izuku was warming up on a large field, shadow boxing as well as kicking. You know, he's either the craziest guy I ever met or the manliest dude ever, the red-haired boy stated, challenging a pro hero to a one-on-one fight. That must have taken a lot of courage, the frog girl added, though I can't really say it was a smart decision. Of course not. This is a pro hero, he challenged. His chances of winning without the use of his quirk are even lower than 1%, the girl with the black ponytail replied. But can you blame him? This is his only chance to become a hero, the boy with the black streak in his hair retorted. He's willing to sacrifice anything in order to achieve his dream. How honorable yet dark indeed, a boy with the crow's head commented. Aizawa then approaches the girl with the black ponytail, much to her surprise. Momo Yaoyorozu, Aizawa stated. What is it, sensei? Yaoyorozu replied. Your quirk lets you create anything you want as long as you understand its basic molecular structure, right? Aizawa asked. Sorry to make you do this, but can you make something for me? After a few minutes of warming up, Izuku exhales deeply and closes his eyes, trying to concentrate as best as he can. Calm down, focus, Izuku. Getting nervous now will only hinder you later. You spent 10 months training with Sensei, the greatest hero in the galaxy. He acknowledged you above all other people. You can do this, just remember, expect nothing, anticipate everything. Izuku thought to himself. You ready to start, brat? Aizawa yelled out as he took his position, about 10 feet away from Izuku. Aizawa then holds out 2 small bells in front of him, showing it to Izuku. Here's the deal, brat. You're going to try and take these 2 bells from me. Aizawa explained. If you can take these bells from me within the next 10 minutes, then I'll retract your expulsion. But if you lose, well, you can kiss being a hero goodbye. I understand, Izuku replied as he took a fighting stance. Believe me, Aizawa-sensei, I won't lose. All right then, Yaoyorozu, on your mark, Aizawa stated. Let the match, Yaoyorozu yelled out as she lifted her hand in the air. Aizawa and Izuku make eye contact, neither one breaking their gaze. Don't forget, Midoriya. Touch that device even once and you lose, Aizawa stated. Begin, Yaoyorozu yelled as she started the timer. With that declaration, Izuku immediately rushes towards Aizawa with full speed, a frontal assault, reckless in an amateur's move. Aizawa thought to himself as he put on his goggles and attacked Izuku with his scarf. Izuku quickly dodges to the left, narrowly avoiding the scarf's jab, and proceeds with his mad dash. Aizawa, however, quickly sends another attack using his scarf. This time, the 2 stands cross each other and attack from opposite ends of Izuku, who proceeds to backflip in order to dodge the sudden attack. Aizawa continues to force Izuku back as he dodges the scarf. Izuku continues to dodge using various flips and spins, impressing both his class and Aizawa. Look at him go. How is he doing that? He's actually dodging Aizawa-sensei's attacks. Not bad, despite being forced onto the defense. He's still managing to dodge my attacks. The way he moves, it's still a bit rough around the edges, but even I can tell. He's put in hard work to get to this point, Aizawa thought as he continued his assault. running around Izuku from a distance. However, will you stay on the defense forever? Heroes always manage to turn the situation into their favor. How will you accomplish this? Eraserhead's biggest advantage is that scarf of his. He has an extended reach because of that capture tool. His quirk isn't suited to fight big groups on his own. That's why he's known for stealth missions. But I can't dodge forever, I have to do something. Izuku thought as he continued to dodge, side-flipping as he thinks. Do you really have the time to think in this situation? Aizawa yelled as he then began to close the gap by dashing towards Izuku. The scarf then lunges towards Izuku, who attempted to dodge again. The time for dodging has passed. Aizawa he then pulled back on the strand. The scarf that Izuku had originally dodged retracted, wrapping itself around Izuku's wrist. Not good, Izuku thought to himself. What kind of hero do you aim to be by simply avoiding the fight? Aizawa yelled as he pulled Izuku in. Aizawa launches a spin kick to Izuku's head, who ducks under to dodge. However, Aizawa then tugs on the scarf that binded Izuku, pulling him close in order to backhand Izuku with his free fist. The scarf releases Izuku upon impact, sending Izuku sliding across the field, to which he recovers fairly quickly. His scarf, he used it to make me vulnerable, Izuku thought as he looked up at Aizawa, wiping his lip of spit and dirt. I see, that scarf. It's not just a tool, it's like it's a part of him. Aizawa's scarf then takes a hold of Izuku's wrist once more as Aizawa charges in. Izuku quickly gets up in response and enters hand-to-hand combat with Aizawa, all while being yanked around by the scarf and occasionally getting off balance and striked by Aizawa. Now that I think about it, this isn't that different from when I fought Swampfire. His scarf, they're like Swampfire's vines, Izuku thought to himself as he continued to fend off Aizawa's attacks. The way he's using his scarf, he's making me move the way he wants and predicting my next move from it. Izuku manages to break Aizawa's guard, shocking the pro hero. Rather than moving in for another strike, however, Izuku immediately reaches for the two bells on Aizawa's belt. Aizawa, noticing this, uses the free strand to wrap Izuku's other wrist, effectively stopping him. Izuku, however, only smirks as he looks up at Aizawa, remembering Ren's advice from long ago. But in a real fight, predictions are a double-edged blade. They make you predictable as well. If that's really the case, this scarf, I'll make it my own extension. Izuku thought to himself. Sorry Aizawa-sensei, I'm borrowing this for a bit. Izuku quickly then takes a hold of the scarf's ends holding him. He pulls them towards himself, forcing Aizawa to jerk forward. Izuku then uses the scarf as tethers as he then jumps off of Aizawa's chest and backflips, kicking Aizawa's chin upward, surprising the entire class. Izuku lands, still holding onto the strands of the scarf. Aizawa stumbles backwards, holding his jaw in pain as he does. Aizawa's hair drops back down. The scarf holding Izuku loses its grip as well, to which Izuku notices. The bindings, they've loosened, Izuku said as he looked at Aizawa curiously. At 5 minutes remaining, Yaorazu yelled while being entranced by their fight. He used my own capture tool to his advantage in order to get closer. At first, all he did was dodge my attacks. Using that to my advantage, capturing him was easy. However, he knew that I would try to stop him if he went for the bells. He used that prediction to use my own scarf against me. That kick to my chin. To think that he was able to pull it off. I didn't expect him to use the tool that held him back in such a clever way. Izuku Midoriya, just how many more surprises do you have for me? I suggest you stay focused, Midoriya, Aizawa stated as his hair then began to stand back up. You still have yet to impress me. Suddenly, the scarf begins to move once more. This time, however, Izuku holds onto the ends of his scarf, wrapping it around his palms rather than his wrists. I can say the same for you too, sensei. This fight is far from over, Izuku replied confidently. Aizawa smiles and the two charge at each other. Their fists clash and thus begins yet another intense standstill of hand-to-hand combat. A punch, dodge, kick, flip, block, all of these practically happened in mere seconds as the two attempt to find any kind of edge over the other. Both of them use the scarf to pull the other one in closer, but is met with a parry or a dodge each time. As they both fought, however, Izuku never lost his bright smile. Unknowingly to Aizawa himself, he was smiling also. No way, a purple-haired girl muttered. He's keeping up with Aizawa-sensei. More than that, they're almost evenly matched. The boy with the large tail exclaimed. They're both excellent combatants. He's unreal. The boy with the multiple arms yelled out. So manly, the red-haired boy yelled. What a fight. This power, the boy with the bird head muttered. Unbelievable, Tenya said as he watched. You can do it. Come on, don't give up. Ochako yelled out to Izuku. Katsuki could only watch in utter shock. Was he dreaming? How could someone like Deku be keeping up with a real pro hero before his eyes? Katsuki began to sweat and hyperventilate as he watched their fight continue. Why is this taking so long? This fight should have been over the moment it began. Katsuki thought to himself. There's no goddamn way Deku should be able to do any of that against a real pro. 2 minutes remaining. Yaorazu announced to the both of them, who seemed to not even notice her announcement, as expected of a pro hero. He's barely even giving me an inch, but even I can tell, he's on a completely different level. I'm just barely able to keep up thanks to the hold on this scarf. It won't be like that forever though. There has to be something I can do, something I haven't tried yet. Come on Izuku, think. Izuku thought to himself as he continued to fight. If I don't get those bells soon, I can't become a hero. At every opportunity he could, Izuku made a break for the bells on Aizawa's belt, to which Aizawa masterfully parried Izuku away each time, either with a kick or dodging altogether. Izuku continues trying to take the bells, blocking and dodging wherever he can. I see. I think I get now. His scarf, it works with the static charge his quirk gives off, but his quirk only works when he keeps his eyes open. Izuku thought as he smiled, gripping the two strands even tighter. Izuku looks up at the pro hero after being thrown back, observing him up and down. Those goggles of his must be to protect his eyes from smoke or dust as he uses his quirk. I made him blink when I kicked his chin, but he's on full guard now. I can't see any other weaknesses, Izuku thought to himself. Of course, Eraserhead is mainly a solo hero. He's spent years covering for his weaknesses, but if that's the case, why make such an effort to keep me at a distance? Izuku then looks back at his hands that still had Aizawa's scarf wrapped around them. Then he gets an idea to which he smirks at. Wait, that's it. If he really has covered for all of his weaknesses, Izuku thought as he rushed towards Aizawa once again. Then I'll just make a new one. Aizawa attempts to roundhouse kick at the charging Izuku, to which Izuku barely blocks. However, Izuku screams and pushes off Aizawa's leg despite the pain he felt, surprising the pro hero. Izuku yanks on the scarf in his left hand, pulling Aizawa slightly forward. Aizawa grips the same strand and stopping the yank midway, exactly as planned. Izuku yelled as he then pulls himself forward using the reinforced strand. Izuku spins and ducks, reaching for the bells on Aizawa's belt. He used my grip on the strand to propel his momentum even more, Aizawa thought. Aizawa quickly jumps back, dodging Izuku's grasp. As he does, however, Izuku yanks on the two strands and pulls them towards him, making Aizawa trip forward. Again, Aizawa exclaimed to himself. As Aizawa quickly yanks back on the strand, Izuku uses the force from Aizawa's pull to slide himself toward the pro. He reaches out for the bells, to which Aizawa immediately reacts by yanking the strand again, pulling Izuku away from the bells and up onto his feet. Izuku looks up and smirks. However, he lets go of one of the strands and uses the force of Aizawa's yank to land a punch onto his goggles, shattering the right side of it. The class gasps at the achievement. Yes, he got another clean hit in. Achako yelled. No, the test isn't over yet. He still needs to get the bells from Aizawa-sensei. Tenya yelled. Go Midoriya, go. The boy with the red hair yelled. I see. Constantly going after the bells on my belt. It isn't just some desperate attempt to pass. He knows I'd put protecting the bells as my top priority. So he's using my own reactions against me, as well as my own tool to further his plans. Aizawa thought to himself as he was knocked back by Izuku. To top it off, he attacked my goggles, shattering one side in order to create another weakness. Izuku Midoriya, the way you fight, it's just like. In that split moment, Izuku jumps towards the bells, reaching out for it once again. Aizawa, however, regains his footing quickly and reactivates his quirk. Aizawa then uses the now free strand to grab Izuku's legs. It wraps around his legs and yanks him down to the ground. Izuku lands onto his back, grunting in pain, unintentionally releasing the other strand. Aizawa then lifts Izuku up with his scarf and throws him across the field. Izuku continues to roll on the dirt until he finally stops himself. He slowly gets up and wipes the blood off of his lip. Your combat skills are impressive, Midoriya. I didn't think you could last this long without your quirk, Aizawa said as he readied himself. I'll admit, I'm a bit surprised. However, I still have the bells on me. You have less than a minute left to pass. The question now is, how will you achieve this goal? You should look closer, Aizawa-sensei, Izuku announced. Aizawa looks back down on his belt and sees that one of the bells is gone. He quickly looks back at Izuku, who opens his fist and reveals the missing bell in his hands. I'm not out of this yet, Izuku declared. Aizawa then smiles as he lifts up his goggles, letting all the glass out of the socket. Well now, that's a surprise, Aizawa said as he smiled at Izuku. The entire class cheers at the sight of this. He actually got one. So amazing. 1 minute remaining, Yaorazu announced excitedly. I wouldn't relax just yet, Midoriya. You still have one more bell to grab if you want to pass, Aizawa announced. Izuku then takes a deep breath. He closes his eyes and gets into a running position. As he focuses, he remembers Ren's voice. One day, kid, you're going to be the best there ever was. I know it. If I can't overcome this challenge, then I don't have the right to call myself a hero. That's why, Izuku thought himself as he looked up at Aizawa. I refuse to lose here. I'll push forward, no matter what. just like Sensei. Izuku then makes a mad dash towards Aizawa, similar to when their match first started. Think that obvious plan will work a second try. Aizawa yelled as he sends his scarf towards Izuku. This time, however, Izuku dodges while charging forward. I can't afford to dodge backwards anymore. This is a reckless and stupid plan, but it's the only thing I can think of now. I doubt he'll give me another chance to grab his scarf, Izuku thought as he continued to dodge the scarf's attacks. I have to exploit the opening I just made as quickly as possible. The only to do that is. Izuku flips and slides under all of the attacks, dashing forward with everything he has. Aizawa jumps back and sends his strands to attack Izuku. This is a stupid and risky as hell plan, but it's the only one I got that may work within the time frame I have, Izuku thought as he continued to close the gap. Please, if there was ever a time for my plan to work, let it be now. As Izuku dodged to the side, he slides, which kicks up dirt and sand from the field, slowly creating a fog of dust. He continues to do this as Aizawa jumps away from Izuku. This continues for about a few more seconds until Aizawa realizes the situation. 30 seconds left, Yaoyorozu announced. I can't see a thing, Tenya yelled. The other students cough at the dust that blew their way. Suddenly, Izuku's attacks stop. Aizawa grips his scarf even tighter as he observes his surroundings closely. He's been kicking up the dust from the ground. This brat, he's trying to dry my eyes out in order to get me to blink, Aizawa thought as he continued to back away, his right eye twitching as he struggles to not blink. I can't afford to let him grab my scarf, he knows this. He's taking advantage of my cautiousness and using this opportunity to exploit my new exposed eye. 15 seconds, Yaoyorozu announced. Suddenly, from Aizawa's left, a shoe comes flying towards him, to which Aizawa immediately catches with his scarf. A shoe, Aizawa stated, bursting from the dust behind him. Izuku makes yet another dash towards Aizawa. Aizawa quickly releases the shoe and binds Izuku's entire body. Izuku at the last second, however, lifts up his right arm and reaches not for the bells, but throws dirt towards Aizawa's eyes. Damn it, Aizawa said as he closed his eyes on reflex. 5 seconds, Yaoyorozu announced. As the bindings loosened, Izuku reached towards the last bell with the last of his strength. Almost there. Come on, Izuku thought to himself as he flew towards the bell. Aizawa quickly knocks away Izuku's hand and slams him down to the ground, however, pinning him in a similar fashion to how Izuku originally held Katsuki. The students were at a loss for words, shocked that Aizawa had managed to stop Izuku in time. Tea time's up, Yaoyorozu announced. Aizawa looks at the back of Izuku's head, which was in the dirt. You fought bravely and skillfully, Izuku Midoriya, Aizawa stated to the pinned down Izuku. But a deal's a deal. Aizawa releases Izuku from his bindings and began to walk away, paying no mind to Izuku. You're right, a deal is a deal, Izuku announced with a stuffed mouth as he stood back up. Aizawa quickly turns around to see a standing Izuku with his head down. Izuku turns his head to the right, still looking at Aizawa, and spits out the last bell from his mouth, catching the entire class's attention. That's why I'm looking forward to learning from you, Aizawa-sensei, Izuku declared. This kid, Aizawa said with a smile as he stared at Izuku. The entire class sees the last bell hit the dirt and immediately cheers. Katsuki's eyes bulged out of their sockets with anger. He began shaking with rage as he gritted his teeth together. The rest of the class then run up to Izuku, hugging him and congratulating him. You really did it, Ochako yelled out. So awesome, what a match, the boy with the large tail yelled. What determination and courage, as expected of the one who got the highest score in UA history, Tenya announced. The way you never gave up even against a pro hero was super cool, the red-haired boy exclaimed. You're going to make a great hero one day, Yaoyorozu announced. Izuku only laughed as small tears formed in his eyes. He was overjoyed that he had won against an actual pro hero and earned his place. Aizawa rubs the back of his head, chuckling slightly as he then approached Izuku. Izuku Midoriya, Aizawa said as he held out his hand towards Izuku. Congratulations, you have more than proven you're a worthy hero. Welcome to UA. Hi. Izuku then smiles brightly as he shakes Aizawa's hands. By the way, Midoriya, I hope you can forgive me. The entire thing about Expulsion was just a lie, Aizawa said as he looked at Izuku. The entire class goes quiet, then breaks into a loud uproar. The entire class yelled. It was just a logical ruse for all of you in order to bring out your fullest potential, Aizawa explained with a nonchalant smile. Especially for you, Midoriya. I meant what I said about you being a liability. However, I was never going to expel you. I just thought that you relied too much on those strange forms of yours. But seeing how you easily pinned Bakugo down when he attacked you intrigued me. I wanted to see just how capable you were in your normal form than in your other forms, Aizawa explained. I don't say this often, so do take this to heart. You exceeded my expectations. Well done, Izuku Midoriya. You are worthy to be a hero, Aizawa then lets go of Izuku's hand and looks at the entire class. And with that, we're done for the day. There are handouts with the curriculum and such in the classroom. When you get back, look over them as soon as possible, Aizawa stated as he continued to walk away. Midoriya. Izuku immediately looks at Aizawa, who looks over his shoulder. Keep up your training and those skills sharp. I'm looking forward to a rematch someday, Aizawa said with a smirk as he began to walk away. Why yes, Aizawa-sensei, Izuku replied. The class continued to swarm Izuku with questions. Izuku smiles and answers them as best as he could. Only Katsuki could be seen sulking in the shadows as he began to walk away, still staring at Izuku. From behind a building next to the students, however, Ren was leaning against the wall, looking at Izuku with a man in steampunk-style clothing next to him. Didn't I tell you? He's an amazing student, Ren asked to the man. Yes, quite talented indeed. You've chosen and trained him well, Ren, the man replied. But are you sure he will be ready for this task? More than ready. He'll be our key to victory in this mission. More than ready. He'll be our key to victory in this mission, Ren replied. Trust me, Professor Paradox, Izuku isn't an ordinary kid anymore. If you say so, I shall trust your judgment, Professor Paradox replied. When will the mission start? Ren asked. Always so eager, you haven't changed a bit. It will be ready in due time. For now, I suggest you stick to training young Izuku for what's to come. He'll need all the training he can get. Now then, Professor Paradox explained as he opening a blue portal. Shall we be off? Ren chuckles and steps through the portal with Paradox, disappearing before anyone notices. A few minutes pass before Aizawa returns to the teacher's office. Aizawa, what happened? Midnight asked. You look terrible. Looks like you just got out of a fight. One of the new students giving you trouble already? Present Mike asked. Aizawa touches the broken lens of his goggles. No, nothing like that. Just had a small test for a student I was interested in. That's all, Aizawa said as he smiled at the broken lens. A punch, kick, dodge, another punch. This was the flow of Ren and Izuku's sparring session early in the morning. The sun had just barely risen fully over the horizon as Ren continues to parry and counter Izuku's attacks. He's gotten a lot better with his attacks, a bit faster even, Ren thought to himself. Ren knocks Izuku's hand away and goes for a leg sweep, to which Izuku dodges by jumping. Spinning mid-air, Izuku proceeds to perform a spin kick, to which Ren dodges by leaning back and backflips away. Reaction times got better too. Used to always be able to hit that off on him, Ren thought excitedly to himself. His counters take less time now and have a shorter window of reaction for his opponent. Is that because of the fight yesterday? It was barely even a day ago, but he's improved this quickly? Looks like you're really getting into it now, huh, Izuku? Ren asked Izuku. Yeah, for some reason, I feel super fired up today, Izuku replied as he continued to attack Ren. I bet you do, after that fight with that shaggy-looking guy. Bet you feel like you can take on the entire world, huh? Ren replied as he blocked and countered Izuku. Wait, you know about that sensei, Izuku exclaimed. In that moment, Ren punches Izuku's cheek, then grabs his wrist. Ren pulls Izuku towards him and leg sweeps Izuku from behind, sending Izuku falling onto his back. Izuku groaned in pain as Ren chuckled and took a seat next to him. I don't just know it, I saw the whole thing. You've got some guts, kid, but that was so awesome to watch, Ren replied. Should really learn to stay focused a bit better though. Izuku sits up and rubs the back of his head. How did you get into the school? UA has special defenses that prevent anyone from sneaking in, Izuku stated. Let's just say I had some help from a friend. But more importantly, you beat that guy in fair combat, Ren exclaimed. Izuku then looks at his hands, remembering his fight with Eraserhead. He then makes a fist and squeezes tightly. No, not really, Izuku replied. I only won on a technicality, but when it comes to a fight of pure skill, he's still leagues above me. Ren doesn't respond and listens intently, looking at Izuku's face that was entranced in a deep thought. I still have a long way to go if I want to be at his level, or yours for that matter, sensei. I have to push myself even further. Aizawa-sensei was right about one thing. I did rely too much on the Omnitrix. I forgot the advice you gave me, about how my aliens are only as capable as me and what I learn, Izuku explained as he then held the Omnitrix up. Until I earn the master control, I have to rely on what Izuku Midoriya can do rather than just the transformations in my Omnitrix. If I want to become the best hero in the world, no, the best in the galaxy, I have to go beyond, plus ultra. Ren sighs and smacks Izuku's head, to which Izuku yelps in pain. You're putting too much pressure on yourself, Ren exclaimed as he smacked Izuku. What was that for, sensei? Izuku said as he looked up to a smiling Ren. The ceiling always gets higher, no matter how many goals you accomplish. No many times you stop a villain, no matter how many times you save someone, you'll always think just one more. The bar always gets higher, Ren replied. It's admirable that you want to push yourself beyond your current abilities. but without a key point to focus on, your mind will always create another ceiling or peak for you to achieve, whether you want it to or not. Izuku says nothing and begins to listen. Keep your center, Izuku, the thing that defines you and makes you who you are. Otherwise, you'll spend your entire life reaching for a never-ending sky and wondered what was it even for. As heroes, we need to remember why we have to get stronger, why we need to be faster, why we need to go plus ultra, Ren said as he stood up and walked towards the shoreline, stopping at just the tide's limit, to save and protect everyone else. Forget becoming the best, forget surpassing me or anyone else, none of that matters in the slightest. Only idiots focus on something like that. Rather, focus on becoming even stronger so that you can save as many people as you can. As long as you keep that center of yours shining bright, nothing can ever take that away from you. Ren walks towards and holds out his hand towards Izuku, who accepts the gesture and stands up. Ren grips Izuku's hand tighter and looks him in the eyes. Izuku, what you did yesterday was something amazing. Despite being told by that ass munch that you couldn't be a hero, you fought on and challenged him to prove him wrong. No matter how many blows you took from him, you never lost that smile on your face. You alone changed your fate in order to reach your destiny, and your human form no less. Be proud of the destiny you grasped on your own, Ren stated. But most of all, be proud of yourself. Technicality or not, you won. Omnitrix or no Omnitrix, I'm proud to have you as my student, Izuku Midoriya. Izuku's eyes sparkle as he slowly regains his smile and grips Ren's hand as well. Why yes, thank you sensei, Izuku replied with a bright smile. The two release their hands and laugh with each other. You should probably head back soon, right? Doesn't your classes start soon? Ren asked. Yeah, they do. What about you, sensei? What are you going to do after this? Izuku asked. Probably some patrolling around the city. Stop some bad guys, save lives, mess with the other heroes. Meet you and your mom back home for dinner, the usual. Ren replied. Don't do anything too rash, sensei. I don't know if you've seen the news lately, but people are starting to really like you now. If you pick a fight with another pro hero, they might. Kid, they pick fights with me. Think you got this whole thing backwards. Ren replied. In any case, please don't do anything too crazy. I really want the people of Japan to see you the way I do, an amazing hero in person. Izuku exclaimed. It's a long shot, but if public opinion changes enough, you might be able to get a hero's license. And what do I need that for exactly? Ren replied sarcastically. Well, if you get one, the heroes will probably stop attacking you every time you show up. Izuku pleaded. Then you'll be recognized as a real hero. Well, on Earth anyway. But just promise me, please sensei. Ren scratches the back of his head out of frustration and sighs. All right. I get it. I hold back a bit when dealing with the other heroes. Ren replied. Not that I need this hero license thing anyway. Now get going, you're going to be late. Izuku smiles and nods before he activates the dial and turns into XLR8. See you tonight at dinner, sensei. XLR8 stated before running off. See you tonight at dinner, sensei. XLR8 stated before running off. A gust of wind kicks up the sand around Ren as he blocks his eyes from it with his left hand. He looks at the direction where Izuku ran off to. He swipes away the dust, smiling as he does. Well, if I really can get those license things, it'll get these posers off of my back. If it happens, cool. If not, whatever. In the meantime, Ren said before transforming. Astrodactyl. Astrodactyl flies off into the city using his green booster to propel even faster through the air. Astrodactyl flies off into the city using his green booster to propel even faster through the air. Let's see what trouble this city's brewing today. Astrodactyl yelled as he spun through the air. After arriving home and transforming back, Izuku quickly takes a shower and washes himself off of any sweat and dirt. He then puts on his uniform and heads out towards the door, saying goodbye to his mother before he does. He follows his usual commute to school, taking 2 trains then walking the rest of the way. He finally arrives at the front gates of UA and begins to walk in. As he does, his instincts suddenly go off and he turns around, grabbing the hand that was about to grasp his shoulder. It was Tenya, whose face was filled with slight shock at Izuku's reflexes. Good morning. Impressive reflexes as always, Midoriya-kun. I wouldn't expect any less from someone like you, Tenya announced happily. Aida-kun, sorry about that, Izuku said as he let go of Tenya's wrist. Good morning. Have you recovered from yesterday? I'm sure fighting a pro hero wasn't on your list of things to do, Tenya commented. Shall we? Tenya and Izuku begin to walk into the school while still talking. Yeah, I got some rest. My injuries weren't that bad, so I think I'll be okay, Izuku replied. That's good to hear. Still, I must admit, I was really taken in by Aizawa-sensei, lying to us and to you about expulsion in order to draw out the upper limits of our quirks. I even thought this is the best of the best and such. I didn't think a teacher would have the gall to encourage us with a lie, Aida stated to Izuku. I thought Aida-kun was scary, but looks like he's just earnest, Izuku thought to himself as he walked with Aida. Hey, you two, a girl called out from behind. heading to class. Wait for me, Uraraka, Izuku yelled out. Ochako catches up with the two and smiles brightly. Good morning, Ochako stated to the both of them. Gee, good morning, Izuku said, blushing immensely. You're the Infinity Girl. Good morning, Tenya replied. I'm Ochako Uraraka, Ochako said to Tenya. You're Tenya Ida. Ochako then looks towards Izuku's direction. And you're Deku Midoriya, right? Deku, Izuku blurted in surprise. Huh, but during the fitness test, isn't what that Bakugo guy called you? Ochako replied. Well, my real name is Izuku, but Deku is what Kaken calls me to make fun of me. An insult, Tenya asked. An insult, Tenya asked. Oh, is that right? I'm sorry, Ochako replied. But you know what? Deku sounds like the Japanese word for you can do it, so I kind of like it. I'm Deku, Izuku announced. Midoriya-kun, Tenya yelled in response. You're accepting it too easily. Wasn't that an insult? Tenya asked. You're accepting it too easily. Wasn't that an insult? Tenya asked. It's like a Copernican revolution, Izuku whispered to himself. Kopi, Ochako said confusingly. Oh, the time, Tenya stated as he looked at his watch. Oh, the time, Tenya stated as he looked at his watch. We should hurry and get to class. All right, Izuku said, snapping out of his blushing state. Then let's all go together, Ochako declared. They all begin walking again and make their way to their class. From there, classes begin like any other normal school. The curriculum of UA High's hero course consisted of regular classes in a normal school, English being the first class of the morning, with lunch following soon after that in the cafeteria. White rice is good comfort food, isn't it? A hero with a chef's hat declared with a thumbs up. Izuku could not reply as he stared at the hero in silent excitement. Ida shared Izuku's gaze but with more of a slight shock than excitement. Izuku could not reply as he stared at the hero in silent excitement. Ida shared Izuku's gaze but with more of a slight shock than excitement. Ochako happily eats as she nods towards his direction. You can say that again, Ochako said with her mouth full. Finally, during the afternoon, the hero course students have hero basic training. Finally, during the afternoon, the hero course students have hero basic training. The moment everyone had seemingly been waiting for. I am. A voice behind the class's door yelled out. Izuku looks towards the door in excitement and with a smile as All Might swings open the door, coming through the door like a normal person. It's really All Might, the student with the black streak in his hair exclaimed. It's really All Might, the student with the black streak in his hair exclaimed. Wow, he really is a teacher, the red-haired boy yelled. That's a costume from the Silver Age, isn't it? The frog girl asked. Its style is so different, it's giving me good bumps. The boy with the large tail commented. It's nice to meet all of you. I teach hero basic training here at UA. All Might announced as he stood in front of the class. All Might announced as he stood in front of the class. It is a subject where you train in different ways to learn the basics of being a hero. You'll take the most units of this subject. Let's get right into it. Today, we'll be performing combat training. Everyone cheers at this announcement. Katsuki, sitting in his seat, grins deviously at the sound of this. And to go with that, are these? All Might yelled as he pointed to the silver panels on the walls of the classroom. The panels then emerge, revealing multiple suitcases that were numbered, costumes made based on your Quirk registrations and requests you sent in before school started. Everyone cheers at the sight of their costumes. After you change, meet me at Ground Beta, All Might announced to the class. Yes, sir, the class yelled in response. All Might waits patiently at the entrance of Ground Beta, looking at the enormous gate while posing proudly. Finally, from the darkness, the students all emerge from their hero costumes. They say the clothes make the man. Young men and ladies, be fully aware, from now on. They say the clothes make the man. Young men and ladies, be fully aware, from now on. You are heroes, All Might announced to the approaching class. All Might takes a look at everyone who has arrived so far in the class and nods in approval. That's great, everyone. You all look very cool. Now then, shall we begin, you zygotes? All Might asked the class. Now then, shall we begin, you zygotes? All Might asked the class. -3 weeks earlier, Izuku was at home, sitting on his couch with Ren next to him. Izuku was going through his laptop, showing Ren all of the pro heroes currently in Japan. These 4 people right are a part of the Flaming Sidekicks group. They're all sidekicks of the number 2 hero, Endeavor. His agency is located near Hasu, Izuku explained while showing Ren the picture. Oh, the flaming hair lady. I fought her before, she had a cool quirk. Ren commented as he pointed to the woman with the flaming green hair. Didn't seem to like it when I sprayed her hair down as water hazard though. Well, she does have a fire quirk, so I would imagine not, Izuku said, chuckling. So, what about this Endeavor guy? What's he like? Ren asked. Well, I read that he isn't typically friendly and doesn't quite have a lot of fans. Although he isn't very high on the popularity polls, he was able to rise to the number 2 spot by the time he was 20 because of how many cases he solved, Izuku explained. I remember reading an article about how he set a nationwide record for number of cases solved within 3 years. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Ren replied. I wonder how strong he is. His quirk is called Hellflame. It's a pretty powerful flame-based quirk. He can generate flames that can reach insane levels of heat. He's like a human version of a pyro knight. Izuku replied. Ren muttered as he looked at the picture of Endeavor. Interesting. I'm home, Inko announced as she entered the house. Izuku immediately jumps up from his seat and runs to the front door with Ren following slowly behind. Izuku greets Inko at the door. Welcome back, Mom. Izuku stated. Welcome back, Inko-san. Was the walk home okay? Ren asked. Oh, don't worry so much, it was fine. More importantly, I have a surprise for you, Izuku. Inko said as she reached into her bag. Ta-da, your hero costume. Congratulations on getting into UA. No way. Did you make this, Mom? Izuku yelled excitedly as he grabbed the jumpsuit. No way. Did you make this, Mom? Izuku yelled excitedly as he grabbed the jumpsuit. I sure did. I took the liberty of sewing it all myself, but I may have jumped to conclusions. Sorry that it isn't much as it is now, though. Inko explained. Not at all. This is great, Mom. Thank you so much, Izuku assured her. But, how did you? Inko chuckles. I've known for a while now. One night when you dozed off during your studying, I noticed your design in your notebook. Inko explained. Then, when I brought it up during a conversation with Ren, he helped me adjust it slightly so the gloves wouldn't get in the way of your Omnitrix. Turns out that Ren is a surprisingly good artist. He even helped me collect the materials I needed for it. Inko commented as she held out a sketch Ren made of Izuku's adjusted hero costume. Wait, Sensei, you knew about this. Izuku yelled as he turned around and looked at Ren. Ren put on a playful smile and sticks his tongue out for a moment. Sorry, kid, couldn't help it. Your mom worked hard on it and I didn't want to spoil the surprise for you. Ren explained. The terrible thing I said when you were a child bothered me for many years, Izuku. I gave up back then. I thought what I was doing was keeping you safe. But now, thanks to Ren's words and seeing your determination to become a hero, I'm never going to give up on you ever again. I'll support you in any way I can from now on, Inko said with a bright smile. Izuku's eyes began to tear up as he hugged his mother tightly. I'll treasure this forever. Thank you so much, Mom. I promise, I won't let you down, Izuku said while crying. Inko begins to cry as well and hugs him back, both now releasing a torrent of tears. Oh, Izuku, my baby. I'll always be proud of you no matter what, Inko said while crying with Izuku. Ren backs up nervously and peeks his head around the corner, looking at the sight of the two. I'm so not in the mood for a trip to the Midoriya water park right now, Ren thought to himself as he looked at the two and smiles. But, this is a pretty nice view. Show them what you're made of, Izuku. Present. Izuku from the darkness of the gate runs to catch up with the rest of the class. These are my mother's feelings. What'll I wear if not this? Izuku thought to himself. Even if it's not the most convenient or state-of-the-art, it's fine. Even if it's not the most convenient or state-of-the-art, it's fine. Izuku then steps into the light of the arena and stands proudly. This is my costume, Izuku declared in his mind. Oh, Deku, Ochako yelled out. You're Raka-san, Izuku stated as he observed her hero costume and blushing underneath his mask. That looks so cool. I really like the down-to-earth vibe. Ochako commented on Izuku's costume. I should have been more specific when submitting my request. It ended up being a skin-tight bodysuit. It's a bit embarrassing. Izuku quickly shakes his head in order to regain his senses. And not at all, Izuku blurted. Huh. Ochako muttered at Izuku's response. It looks great. Iwa, pink looks really good on you, Izuku replied. Ochako blushes slightly and returns Izuku's compliment with a smile. Thanks, Deku. Come on, we should join everyone else, Ochako said as she grabbed his hand and leads him to the group, much to his embarrassment. Upon arrival of the two, All Might immediately notices the design choices of Izuku's costumes. The two stands on his head, the cowl that has a wide smile. It was all out of appreciation for All Might. All Might awkwardly waves towards Izuku, who returns the same awkward gesture, giving slightly embarrassed smile. All Might remembers the day the two had first met and the conversation they had on the rooftop. I'm sorry, young man, but no. Without a quirk, I just don't think it's possible for you to become a hero. His words echoed in his mind. Young Midoriya, forgive me. I haven't gotten the proper moment to apologize for what I said that day. To think that even your costume was designed in my reflection. I promise, I'll make things right soon. All Might thought to himself. And if you really have fallen into the clutches him, I promise, I will save you no matter the cost. Now then, it's time for combat training, All Might announced to the class. Sensei, a boy in white armor exclaimed. Oh, that must be Ida. What a cool design, Izuku thought to himself. This is a battle center from the entrance exam. Will we be conducting urban battles again? Ida asked. All Might then holds out a peace sign with his fingers towards the class. Not at all. In fact, we'll be moving 2 steps ahead of that, All Might replied. For the most part, fighting villains take place outside. However, if you look at the total numbers, atrocious villains appear indoors rather than the former at a much higher rate. The entire class listens intently to All Might's explanation for this training. Izuku then makes a fist with both of his hands as he listens. Imprisonment, house arrest, backroom deals. In this society filled with heroes, truly intelligent villains hide in the shadows. For this exercise, you all will be split into teams of villains and heroes and fight in 2-on-2 indoor matches. Without any basic training first, the frog girl asked, "Why this is the basic training?" All Might replied, "This is a real battle in order for you all to understand those basics. The key difference, however, there's no robot you can just beat up. How will wins and losses be determined?" Momoyaorazu asked, "Can we beat them up anyway?" Katsuki asked, "Will the punishment be expulsion like with Aizawa-sensei?" Ochako asked, "I'd rather not fight All Might for my place at UA today." Izuku whispered under his breath, "How shall we be split up?" Tenya asked, "I'll answer all your questions, so please let me finish." All Might yelled, "Now then." All Might then pulls out a small booklet from his belt and opens it. The situation is that the villains have hidden a nuclear weapon somewhere in their hideout. The heroes obviously will be the ones to dispose them of it. The heroes need to catch the villains or get the nuclear weapons back in the allotted time. The villains will either protect the nuclear weapon for the duration of the training or catch the heroes. All Might then reveals a yellow box and shows it to the class. Teams and opponents will be determined by drawing lots. All Might declared, "They're being decided so haphazardly." Tenya exclaimed, "It makes though. Pros often have to improvise teams and work around heroes from other agencies. So perhaps this will better prepare us for that." Izuku explained to Tenya, "I see. This level of insight and discernment to look ahead." Tenya said to himself before bowing to All Might, "Please excuse my rudeness. It's fine, young Ida. More importantly, let's get started quickly. Here are the team compositions. Teams A. Ochako and Izuku. Team B. Mizo and Shoto. Team B. Mizo and Shoto. Team B. Mizo and Shoto. Team C. Minoru and Momo. Team D. Katsuki and Tenya. Team D. Katsuki and Tenya. Team D. Katsuki and Tenya. Team E. Mina and Yuga. Team F. Koji and Rikido. Team F. Koji and Rikido. Team G. Denki and Kyoka. Team G. Denki and Kyoka. Team G. Denki and Kyoka. Team H. Fumikage and Tsuyu. Team H. Fumikage and Tsuyu. Team I. Mashurao and Toru. Team I. Mashurao and Toru. Team J. Hanta and Ijiro. "Wow, it must be fate. I'm counting on you, Deku," Ochako stated to Izuku. "Wow, it must be fate. I'm counting on you, Deku," Ochako stated to Izuku. "Why yeah, you too, you're Raka-san," Izuku replied as he blushed slightly. All Might then begins to draw their lots from two different boxes to determine the villains and heroes. With all that settled, the first teams to fight will be these guys, All Might declared as he held up a ball in each hand. With the villain team being Team D and the hero team being Team A. Team A will be the heroes and Team D will be the villains. Katsuki and Izuku both glance over to each other. Katsuki smiles deviously as he lets off small clusters of explosions in his hands. Izuku returns in confidant smirk and adjusts his mask, angering Katsuki and making him growl. "Finally I get the chance to crush you, Deku. You think you can compete with me because of that freaky quirk of yours? I'll show you where you truly belong, beneath my boots," Katsuki thought to himself. "Now everyone, please head toward the monitor room." "Yes, sir," the rest of the class replied. After a few minutes, both teams arrived to the training building with All Might. Villain team, you all enter first and set up however you decide. Hero team, in 5 minutes, you will be allowed to enter, and once you do, the battle will commence. All Might announced to the two teams. Young Ada, young Bakugo, learn to think from the perspective of the villains. This will be very close to a real fight. Go all out, don't be afraid to get hurt. Of course, if things go too far, I will stop the fight. "Yes, sir," Tenya replied. Katsuki doesn't listen, however, as he looked over at Izuku, who was merely stretching before entering the building, gritting his teeth in anger at the mere sight of him. A few minutes pass and the villain team have already entered the building. Tenya observes the room with the nuclear weapon closely while Katsuki broods in silence. "Even if this is training, it pains me to even act like a villain," Tenya commented as he walked towards the fake bomb. "It's papier mâché." "Hey," Katsuki yelled out to Tenya. Tenya turns around and looks at the still brooding Katsuki. "Deku has a quirk, right?" Katsuki asked bluntly. "You saw those extraordinary forms during the assessment tests, didn't you? Despite the drawbacks of only being in each form for 10 minutes, plus an additional 5 minutes for his support gear to recharge, it's quite useful in a number of different situations." Katsuki only scoffs at the sound of someone like Deku having a quirk, something Tenya notices rather immediately. "I've noticed that you seem especially angry when it comes to Midoriya-kun. Do you too have history?" Tenya asked. Katsuki does not reply to Tenya, however. None of this makes any sense. Did he dare trick me? That damn nerd, Katsuki thought to himself. Outside of the building, Izuku and Ochako were busy memorizing the building's layout. They were both trying to figure out the bomb's location together and shared thoughts with each other. It's a lot of work to memorize the building's floor plan. Ochako commented. Yeah, having to find a bomb on one of these floors doesn't make it any easier either. Izuku added. But All Might really is just like how he is on TV. At least you can relax, knowing that you don't have to fight All Might for your spot back if we fail like you did with Aizawa-sensei, right? Ochako said playfully. Yeah, Izuku replied as he then looked up at the building. Deku, is something wrong? Ochako asked. Oh, it's nothing. It's just, Izuku said as he looked back down onto his paper. To think that I'd be fighting Kaken already, out of all the other teams. Right, I forgot. Bakugo's the one that gave you that nickname and made fun of you. Ochako commented. Izuku sighs and leans back onto the railing, looking up at the sky. Despite being a piece of work, he's amazing. Izuku commented. He always went on and on about how he would surpass All Might and become the best. His goal, confidence, physical strength as well as his quirk, they're all amazing. I always felt that way deep down in my heart. No matter what he did to me in the past, ever since we were kids, I was always chasing after him. But now, Izuku then stands up and looks at the top floor of the building. 10 months ago, I met someone. My sensei. He told me that I could be a hero. Izuku explained as he looked at his Omnitrix, pressing a holographic button on the top of his glove which retracted the sleeves on his gloves back to reveal the Omnitrix. He gave me the key necessary to achieve that dream. He put his entire faith in me and showed me that I had the strength to become a hero inside me all along. I don't want to let him down. That's why, right here and now, I have to win, not just for his sake, but for my own as well. Izuku then puts on his mask and smiles. I'm tired of chasing him. That's why with this victory, this will be my own way of saying to Kaken, I'm going on ahead. Izuku declared. I see. A fated battle between men? Huh. Ochako replied. Oh, sorry Uraraka-san. I kind of just rambled on, didn't I? Izuku replied. None of this is really your problem to deal with. Izuku looks over to Ochako who is simply gazing at him with amazement and shock. Uraraka-san, are you okay? Is something on my face? Izuku blurted out. Ochako smiles and jumps off of the railing. She then turns to face Izuku and pumps her fist in the air. All right, let's win this together, Deku. Ochako declared. We're a team, aren't we? So your goals are my goals. Let's both do our best. All right, I'm counting on you. Izuku replied. Right, Ochako replied. Now then, if the hero team is ready, let's begin the combat training. All Might announced over the telecoms. In the monitoring room, everyone was watching through the many cameras that were placed around the building. Everyone, I would like you all to think as you watch this battle unfold. It may turn out to be quite a learning experience in your matches as well. All Might announced to the rest of the class. Now young Midoriya, you can truly let your skill shine in this practice battle. Everything this Ren character has taught you, show it to me and bring everything into fruition. All Might thought to himself as he looked at the camera recording Izuku. Izuku and Ochako climbed through a window and entered the building quietly. Infiltration successful. Ochako whispered, be on the lookout for blind spots. Izuku whispered back. They then make their way down the hallways and stop at a corner. They plant themselves against the wall and Izuku peeks over the corner. Izuku then signals Ochako to follow once the coast was clear. They both turn the corner and begin to walk through the building once more, with Izuku constantly scanning the building. I have to choose the right moment to use the Omnitrix. I can't risk timing out during the midst of a fight. Knowing Kaken, he won't be one to stand around and wait, so he'll most likely be on the attack and have Ida guard the bomb. I'll have to manage in my human form as long as I can before transforming. Izuku thought to himself as he walked through the building. This is fine, I've studied Kaken for years. That fight we had back at our old junior high. Even if he didn't use his quirk that much, I can take him. Uraraka's zero-gravity quirk is actually pretty useful in tight spaces like this. Less room to possibly miss our target as well as allow for pretty creative solutions. But it also restricts both parties' movements as well. Just have to remember, expect nothing. Anticipate everything. Just as Izuku and Ochako were about to turn a corner, Katsuki emerges from the connecting hallway and strikes at the two. Just as I thought. Izuku thought as he jumped towards Ochako, saving her from the explosion. Uraraka-san, are you okay? Why yeah, thanks, Ochako said as they both get up. Deku, your mask, not important right now. Focus, Izuku replied quickly. From the smoke, Katsuki swipes his hands across the smoke, revealing himself to his opponents. Hey Deku, don't you dare dodge again, Katsuki said in a menacing tone. I figured you'd come for me. Kaken, Izuku said as he stood up and faced Katsuki. I've been waiting a long time for this chance, Deku. I ain't gonna let it slip by, Katsuki yelled as he charged at Izuku. I won't do so much damage that this fight gets called off, but you can bet your nerd ass I'm gonna get pretty damn close. Katsuki throws a right swing at Izuku. Izuku, however, easily dodges and catches the attack. Amazing. It's just like when he fought Aizawa-sensei, Ochako declared. And no way. He read my moves. Katsuki thought to himself. What's with this guy? Izuku then spins and prepares to throw Katsuki over his shoulder, screaming at the top of his lungs as he flips Katsuki. Katsuki grunts in pain after being slammed onto the ground. The students watching in the monitoring room cheers for Izuku, as expected of Midoriya-kun. He countered Bakugo like it was nothing. So manly, Kirishima yelled out. Katsuki slowly gets up, still writhing slightly in pain. You usually always start with a right swing, Kaken. Do you remember my notebook? The one you blew up all those months ago? Izuku asked Katsuki. I've watched you for a long time, Kaken. I bet you didn't know that not only did it contain my notes on heroes I thought were amazing, but there was a section on you as well. Katsuki looks back at Izuku, who stands tall and readied his fists, flashing a confidant smiling towards Katsuki, who grits his teeth with rage as he stares at Izuku. My Deku will never mean or called useless ever again. Not by you or anyone else. From now on, Deku will mean you can do it, and become the name of a hero. Ochako's eyes widen with joy as she remembered her comment of the name Deku in the morning. But you know what? Deku sounds like the Japanese word for you can do it, so I kind of like it. Ochako's words echoed in her mind. Katsuki slowly gets up, fuming and puffing with anger. He turns around and readies himself, letting off small explosions in his hands to show this. Deku, Katsuki growled, even though you're scared. That's what I hate most about you. Izuku continues to gaze at Katsuki without even flinching or shaking, despite the sudden explosions in Katsuki's hands. I told you before, Kaken. I'm done being afraid. Izuku replied as he gripped his fists harder. I'm going to move forward. If that means I have to get past you, then so be it. Come at me with everything you have. Izuku replied as he held his smile. Bakugo, Tenya shouted into Katsuki's calms. What was that just now? Give me your status. Just shut up and defend. Katsuki replied. I'm pissed off right now, so don't test me. I'm not asking you how you feel. Tenya replied as Bakugo proceeds to hang up. Hey, Bakugo, going off on his own like that. What is wrong with him? Back with the battle. Uraraka-san, sorry, but can you leave this to me? Izuku asked Ochako, finding that bomb is our top priority right now. I'll handle Kaken. You focus on finding that bomb. But, Ochako yelled out. Katsuki releases an explosion from his left palm, propelling him forward and spinning towards Izuku, preparing a kick. Izuku quickly blocks the kick, sliding back slightly as he does. Looking away. You must be sure of yourself. Katsuki yelled out. Katsuki realizes Izuku had the capture tape in his hands and was about to fully wrap it around his leg. The capture tape. Katsuki thought to himself. I'm glad I was able to see Eraserhead's moves in up close and personally. It gave me this idea for using the capture tape. But I know this won't be enough. Knowing Kaken, he'll counter immediately with another explosion from his right hand. Izuku thought to himself as he looked at Katsuki. Just as Izuku had predicted, Katsuki attacks with an explosion from his right hand, to which Izuku dodges immediately. As Izuku regains his balance, he looks past Katsuki and at Ochako, who is still staring. Don't worry about me, Uraraka-san, Izuku said before giving her a thumbs up and a smile. I won't lose. I'll catch up, so go. Ochako nods and runs off in the opposite direction. Izuku returns his attention to Katsuki, who was now brooding in the dust and smoke he had just created. He kicked me first this time. Changing up his normal attack patterns like that, he must have been trying to counter my predictions of his actions. He's on full guard now, so I doubt I can continue reading his moves now. Izuku thought to himself as he wiped the spit off of his lip. I'll have to play it more safe now. Those explosions of his give him some insane mobility and aerial advantage. But still, it would be hard to move as freely as he would like to in these conditions. I should take advantage of that. Think you're hot shit just because you can fight now, Deku. Don't make me laugh, Katsuki said as he propelled towards Izuku again, spinning in the air as he does. I'll crush you like the bug you always were. Izuku jumps off of the wall next to him and leaps towards the opposite direction of the charging Katsuki. As the two spun over one another, they make eye contact and gaze at each other, not saying a word. The two then land on their feet and Izuku rushes towards Katsuki. Katsuki wastes no time and instantly blasts Izuku with an explosion, to which Izuku leaps off of the wall and into the next hallway, barely dodging the blast. Where do you think you're going, Deku? Get back here and fight me, Bakugo said as he chased after Izuku. As Katsuki turned the corner where Izuku had ran into, he was shocked to find that there was no trace of Izuku anywhere. Where'd that nerd go? Katsuki growled as he took a step forward. Katsuki's ear flicks at the slight sound of shuffling. He jerks around and looks up to find a rapidly descending Izuku on top of him. Katsuki immediately jumps back, dodging the attack. He aims his palms at Izuku, to which Izuku quickly kicks upwards while performing a backflip, forcing Katsuki to miss his blast. In that split moment, Izuku punches Katsuki in his gut, forcing him to cough up some spit. And no way. Deku got the drop on me. Katsuki thought to himself as he gritted his teeth and slowly stood back up. Izuku then grabs Katsuki's arms and spins him around, letting go mid-spin to slam him into the wall. Izuku quickly wraps the capture tape around Katsuki's arm, to which Katsuki responds with an explosion from his free arm. Izuku then proceeds to leap off of the wall once more, this time dragging Katsuki's arm along with him. Izuku then whips Katsuki's crashing into his charged palm, forcing a more pressurized explosion to send the two of them flying back. Izuku against the wall and Katsuki sliding back down the hallway. That guy's amazing, Rikito stated as he watched the fight unfold. He's not even using his quirk and he's still giving Bakugo a run for his money. Hanta added, young Izuku, your skills and fighting abilities, they're even better than when I was observing you and Ren train together. You must have spent years writing your notes and internalizing them. I noticed that the first time we met when I went through your notebook. Looks like that fanboy knowledge and the training you received from Ren is finally paying off where it counts. All Might thought to himself. Izuku and Katsuki both begin to get up slowly. Once they fully stand, they stare at each other, each of them panting slowly. Katsuki's palms begin to let loose more small explosions as they share their stares. Izuku quickly gets back into his fighting form. Why won't you use it? Katsuki yelled towards Izuku. Your quirk, why won't you use it, you damn nerd? You think you can stand on equal footing to me just because you can do some flashy martial arts now? Izuku doesn't reply, however, as he continues to focus, trying to anticipate Katsuki's next attack. Katsuki then quickly looks up at Izuku, forcing him to put his fists up almost instantly. Do you think I'm a joke, Deku? You tricked me, didn't you? All these years, you've been lying to me, haven't you? Katsuki declared loudly. You've got some flashy quirk there, yet you think I'm not worth using your quirk on. Don't you dare think for 1 second that you're better than me, you damn nerd. The radio in Izuku's ear then turns on. Deku-kun, I found the bomb. Achako announced over the comms. Where are you right now? Izuku replied. The middle of the 5th floor. Achako replied with a tone of worry in her voice. Middle of the 5th floor. That's almost directly above me. Izuku thought to himself. We're probably low on time. I wasted too much trying to take down Kaken. We have to act now or else we'll lost indefinitely. Ada found me though. Sorry, Deku-kun. Achako said over the comms. Don't worry, you did good, Uraraka-san. I'll be there soon. Try to slow Ida down any way you can. Take advantage of the small space around you. He won't be able to move as quickly or freely as he'd like. You can make yourself float with your quirk, right? Izuku asked. I can, but it's hard on my body. Achako replied. How long can you hold it for? Izuku replied. About 5 seconds or so. Achako replied. That'll work. I have an idea in mind, so be ready for it, all right? Izuku asked. Got it. Good luck, Deku-kun. Achako replied as she hung up. Don't you dare ignore me, Deku. Katsuki yelled as his gauntlets flashed a red glow for a moment. Think you can win even if you don't use that freaky quirk of yours. Don't underestimate me, Deku. If you won't use your quirk against me, then I'll just make you use it. With these, Katsuki declared as he held up his right gauntlet. Then I'll just make you use it. With these, Katsuki declared as he held up his right gauntlet. Know what these are, Deku. I bet you already figured out being a great stalker and all. They're fully loaded, by the way. Kaken's quirk lets him secrete nitroglycerin like sweat from the sweat glands on his palms, which allows him to create the explosions he's known for. Those gauntlets aren't just for show. Knowing the kind of person Kaken is, it's something that'll make his explosions even more powerful. Izuku thought to himself. If that's the case, then I have to use the Omnitrix. It's now or never. If they made this the way I asked, then these gauntlets will store the nitroglycerin inside them, and Katsuki stated as he began to pull the pin on the gauntlet. You wouldn't dare. Izuku yelled back. Young Bakugo, stop now. Are you trying to kill him? All Might exclaimed. Young Bakugo, stop now. Are you trying to kill him? All Might exclaimed. He won't if he dodges the blast or uses his quirk. Katsuki yelled as he began to pull the pin out. He won't if he dodges the blast or uses his quirk. Katsuki yelled as he began to pull the pin out. It's now or never, Deku. Last chance. Use it. Katsuki declared before fully pulling the pin out. Stupid crazy asshole. Izuku thought as he quickly pressed the holographic button on his gloves. Stupid crazy asshole. Izuku thought as he quickly pressed the holographic button on his gloves. Izuku quickly activates the dial on his Omnitrix. Without even a second more to decide the alien, he quickly slams down on the Omnitrix as the approaching explosion drew near. The explosion engulfs the green flash of the Omnitrix as it decimated the area around them. The explosion rocks the entire building and monitoring room, sending everyone into a slight panic. The explosion rocks the entire building and monitoring room, sending everyone into a slight panic. Midoriya. Young Midoriya. All Might screamed into the mic, hoping for a response. Deku-kun, are you alright? Say something. Ochako yelled into her earpiece. Cinders, smoke and the sounds of fire sizzling filled the now decimated hallway and room as Katsuki pants heavily with a wide smile. He then looks at his gauntlets. Well, the more that's stored in these gauntlets, the stronger the blast, Katsuki said as he looked ahead where Izuku once was. Now then, where are you, Deku? Katsuki is met with a short silence as he looked towards the smoke and rubble. As the smoke aired itself out, however, it slowly revealed the silhouette of a large diamond-like barricade. Katsuki's eyes widened with excitement as he saw this. Once the smoke had fully cleared, the green diamond barricade retracts back into the ground to reveal Diamond Head. Alright, Kaken, if you're going to use everything you have against me, then so will I, Diamond Head announced as he stood back up. Don't say I didn't warn you. You've just made a very big mistake. You've just made a very big mistake. The rest of the class cheers for Izuku as he finally transformed. There it is, my favorite form of his, Injiro stated. So cool and manly. That explosion didn't do a thing to him. Denki yelled. How strong is this guy? All Might releases a sigh of relief, knowing that Izuku was alright. All Might picks up the mic once again. Young Bakugo, the next time you use that attack, I'll stop the fight and your team will be disqualified, All Might announced. What? Katsuki yelled at All Might's announcement. To use an attack as large as that was inviting the destruction of the stronghold you should be protecting. That is a foolish plan for both heroes and villains. You lost a lot of points for it. Katsuki only scoffs at All Might's words as he looks over at Diamond Head. Deku-kun, Deku-kun, Ochako yelled into the intercoms. Don't worry, Uraraka-san, I'm fine. Diamond Head replied. Your voice, it's so deep. Did you transform? Ochako asked. Yeah, I did. Never mind that. What's the situation on your end? Diamond Head asked. Katsuki continued to growl in frustration. Slowly, he looks up at Diamond Head, who is still talking to Ochako. Got it. Go to the pillar near the window. If everything goes according to plan, then we'll win. Diamond Head said to Ochako. I got it. Leave it to me. Ochako replied. Ignoring me again, Deku. Don't look down on me, damn nerd. Katsuki yelled within his mind. Do you think you're stronger than me? Just watch. I'll force you to surrender even if you're at full strength. Do you think you're stronger than me? Just watch. I'll force you to surrender even if you're at full strength. In the bomb room, Ochako looks at Tenya, who is currently distracted. Bakugo, Bakugo. Answer me, was that you? What in the world did you do? Tenya yelled into his earpiece. Bakugo, tell me, what did you just do? Back downstairs. Katsuki angrily grabs the earpiece out of his ear and shouts into it. Just shut the hell up already. Don't tell me what to do, you damn elite. Act like the extra you are and guard the damn bomb. Katsuki yelled as he then exploded the earpiece, causing a loud feedback noise to pierce Tenya's ears. This may be a chance, Ochako thought to herself as she ran towards the bomb. If we retrieve the weapon, we'll win without needing Deku's plan. Tenya immediately takes notice of this and runs towards Ochako, attempting to grab her. I won't let you, hero, Tenya yelled. As Ochako ran, however, she touches the fingertips on each of her hand together and jumps over Tenya, shocking the acting villain. As Ochako ran, however, she touches the fingertips on each of her hand together and jumps over Tenya, shocking the acting villain. We just need to touch the weapon itself for it to count as being retrieved, Ochako thought to herself as she flew towards the bomb. We just need to touch the weapon itself for it to count as being retrieved, Ochako thought to herself as she flew towards the bomb. She can make herself float now too, Tenya exclaimed before running back. Ochako then touches her hands together. Release, Ochako yelled as she began to descend on the bomb. Before she could make contact with it, however, Tenya makes it there before her and swipes the bomb away, causing her to come crashing down onto the floor and roll back into the wall. Your quirk is not a threat if you cannot touch anything. I'll hold out until the time runs out, Tenya announced from the other side of the room as he began to laugh menacingly. Ochako gets up and looks back at Tenya. It was worth a shot. I guess I'll just have to wait for Deku, Ochako thought to herself. Back with Diamond Head and Katsuki. Katsuki and Diamond Head share a long and silent stare with each other, both in a fighting position, ready to pounce at any time. Back in the monitoring room, the students were pleading with All Might. Sensei, is it really a good idea to let those two duke it out? Ijiro asked. Bakugo looks like he's one step away from entering Crazy Town. He might really kill him, you know. All Might does not reply as he observed Diamond Head, remembering the training he observed between Ren and Izuku. Hey, what's wrong, Deku? That blast didn't affect you in that form, so you can still move, can't you? Katsuki yelled out. Come and get me. Kaken's had his costume and gear specially made so that he could cover even long-range distances. That explosion was powerful in every sense of the word, but Diamond Head had no problem tanking it. I wonder, Diamond Head thought to himself. Why don't you come at me yourself? You're the one that wanted this the most, Kaken. Diamond Head then gestures Katsuki to come towards him, smirking as he does, which angers Katsuki even more. Fine then, Katsuki yelled out as he propelled himself forward. Let's settle this without fists. Diamond Head reacts quickly and punches the floor. Diamond Head reacts quickly and punches the floor. As soon as he does, a pillar of green diamond emerges and launches towards Katsuki. Katsuki, reacting quickly, uses his left palm to propel himself upwards, narrowly dodging the attack, and flies over Diamond Head. A counter. Diamond Head thought to himself, seeing Katsuki fly over him. Katsuki uses his right palm to readjust himself in the air, then uses his left palm again to attack with another explosion, to which Diamond Head counters by creating a small shield with his forearms, only being slightly pushed back by the force of the explosion. He just barely managed to block it. Mina commented, "But what was that move Bakugo just did now?" Ijiro commented, "He doesn't look like the type to think, but he's more subtle than I expected." Shoto commented. Ijiro and Mina both looked back at Shoto in confusion. "What do you mean?" Ijiro asked. He changed his course in a blast that doubled as a way to avoid Midoriya's pillar attack while giving him a clear shot at his back. Then he did it again immediately to adjust his trajectory. Shoto explained, "Despite Midoriya-kun blocking the attack, getting in a clean hit while fighting against the inertia requires polished lateral adjustments to the power of the explosions." Momo added, "These two are way too talented." "Too talented? Ugh," Denki commented. Back with the fight, Diamond Head looks at the sizzling smoke on his shield with curiosity. "I thought as much. Diamond Head's density can take most of Kaken's blasts. The only thing I have to worry about is the force of the explosions." Diamond Head thought to himself. "Where the hell are you looking?" Katsuki yelled. "Look here, it's your favorite right swing." Diamond Head wastes no time and instantly makes his fist even larger. Diamond Head catches Katsuki's fist easily, despite Katsuki releasing multiple explosions. Diamond Head begins to generate crystals from his arm and encase Katsuki's right arm in a shell of diamond. What the fuck are you doing? "Let me go," Katsuki yelled as he sent an explosion towards Diamond Head's face. Barely flinching, Diamond Head lets go of Katsuki, who tries to flip away but is unable to due to the weight of the casing on his arm. "What the hell is this?" Katsuki yelled as he tried to smash the diamond casing. Katsuki then tries to release an explosion within the casing, only for nothing to happen but small sparks flickering. "And my quirk, it's not working," Katsuki thought to himself. "This form can generate crystals from anywhere, whether it stems from my body or beneath the ground. The density of these crystals are harder than any other material known on the planet, so your explosions won't do a thing to it," Diamond Head explained. Katsuki begins to growl at the frustration of not being able to smash the diamond cast. "How long?" Katsuki growled as he pointed his second gauntlet directly at the diamond casing on his arm. "How long have you been underestimating and looking down on me like this, you bastard? Young Bakugo, I told you that if you use that attack again, you said only if I use it for an attack. Nothing about using it on myself," Katsuki yelled as he pulled the pin with his teeth. Diamond Head then slams the ground with both of his hands, and large chunks of diamonds emerge from beneath Katsuki, encasing his arms and gauntlets, effectively containing the explosions to a much smaller scale. The building rumbles only slightly this time. Once it stopped, the diamonds containing the explosions slowly retract back down, revealing that the explosion from Katsuki's gauntlet had only freed Katsuki's hand, his other gauntlet still encased in diamond. Katsuki takes off the other gauntlet and drops it onto the ground, freeing his arm as he panted in pain from his own explosion. He stared at Diamond Head once more, as if waiting for an answer. "Is that what you think this is about?" Diamond Head asked Katsuki, catching his attention. "You really thought I was looking down on you? You couldn't be any more wrong, Kaken." Katsuki does not reply as he continued to pant, listening to Diamond Head's words. "You're amazing. You were always amazing to me. No matter how badly you treated me or anyone else around you, I always thought you were amazing. That's why I always chased after you, but," Diamond Head explained as he looked at his own hand, "it's because of that exact reason now that I want to beat you. I want to prove to the world, to myself, and to him, that I can become a hero, a symbol even. That's why." Diamond Head then enters a fighting position, still staring at Katsuki. "I can't, no, I won't lose. Not here, not today. Especially, not to you. Not when I have so much on the line. Not when he's put so much faith in me. Not when I've worked so hard for this gift. I'm going to create my own path now, Kaken. One that's completely separate from you and All Might. I'll make sure my future shines brightly for everyone to see," Diamond Head declared. "If you plan to stand in the way of my future, then I'll just beat you down until you stay down. If you want to stop me, Kaken, then come at me with everything you've got. I don't plan to let my dream end here for any reason. Don't you dare stare at me like that, you damn nerd," Katsuki yelled at Diamond Head. "As if you'll ever surpass me, you worthless Deku. Let me show you who's the real future #1 hero right here and now." Diamond Head and Katsuki then charges at one another, ready to clash with one last strike containing all the power they have. What drive and passion. I've never seen a resolve as strong as these two. Young Midoriya's resolve. This is beyond from just wanting to be a hero. I should stop these two, but I'm sure this is necessary for you both to arrive at the future you're both pursuing. All Might thought as he watched the two charge at one another. I'm gonna grind you into dust, Deku. Katsuki yelled out as he powered up his attack. I'm gonna grind you into dust, Deku. Katsuki yelled out as he powered up his attack. Sensei, this looks bad. You need to stop this now. Ijiro yelled out. All Might bites his lip, trying to resist the internal conflict within his heart to stop the fight but also the desire to let the two clash and settle their score. Finally, All Might makes a decision and grabs the mic. Both of you, stow. Hiroraka, now, do it now. Diamond had yelled out into his earpiece. Got it. Ochako replied as she used her quirk on the floor beneath them. All Might immediately stops his command and looks at the screen. Diamond Head, rather than clash fists with Katsuki, slams down onto the ground with all the strength he has while dodging Katsuki's explosion, shocking Katsuki. A single giant pillar of diamond erupts from the ground and lifts Diamond Head up through the floor, knocking Katsuki back. The pillar crashes through the floor like a piston, lifting up the now weightless debris. Tenya is taken aback by the sudden appearance of Diamond Head on the diamond pillar. The debris floats in the air as Diamond Head placed his hand on the floor of the pillar. He smirks at Tenya, who is frozen in shock. Special move, 1000 Pillar Fortress. Diamond Head yelled as he generated even larger giant diamonds from the ground. Multiple pillars emerged this time and nearly split the building into two as they emerged across the entire training grounds, shocking the class watching in the monitoring room as they try to stay balanced among the rumbling. The pillars separated Tenya from the weapon as he tried to dodge the pillars out of habit. Hiroraka-san, now, Diamond Head yelled out. Right, Ochako yelled as she made herself weightless and leaped over the fallen debris. Release. Ochako then manages to grab onto the weapon and sighs relaxingly. Weapon retrieved. Ochako announced. AHHH. No, the weapon. Tenya yelled as he realized he had failed. AHHH. No, the weapon. Tenya yelled as he realized he had failed. Katsuki could only stare at the giant pillar in front of him, completely shocked at the power Diamond Head had portrayed as he listened to the echoes of Tenya's screams. Katsuki could only stare at the giant pillar in front of him, completely shocked at the power Diamond Head had portrayed as he listened to the echoes of Tenya's screams. Then, the buzzer is heard, indicating that time has run out. Hero Team wins, All Might announced to everyone. Hero Team wins, All Might announced. 10 months ago, I met someone who finally believes in me, who stood by me when no one else would. That person told me that I had what it took to become a hero. That person put me through hell in order to stand where I am now. That's why I'm going to UA. No matter what. Izuku's words echoed in Katsuki's mind. I'm done being held back by these fears. And by you. I'll become a hero, just like him. Katsuki was speechless, his anger rising even higher than it ever had before upon hearing the announcement. His whole world shattered in less than 15 whole minutes. This belief that he was the strongest, the greatest, the undisputed future #1 hero, all done and dusted. He stared at the giant diamond pillar Diamond Head had created with a silent fury brewing in his eyes, gritting his teeth as hard as he could, yet all this did nothing to soothe his frustration. This is a joke, right? There's just no way, Katsuki said as he looked behind him at the wave of large diamond pillars that spread through the building and across the entire training ground. There's no way Deku can be this powerful, this strong. He was always a pebble on the side of my path, so how? At the 5th floor, Ochako began to puke due to reaching past her quirk's weight limit 9. At the 5th floor, Ochako began to puke due to reaching past her quirk's weight limit. Diamond had created a crystal bucket for her as he rubbed her back and Tenya held her hair up. Sorry to put you through that, Hiroraka-san. I had no idea there was a limit to how much weight you can handle. Diamond had said apologetically. Don't worry about it so much, Deku-kun. We won, that's all that matters. Ochako replied before puking again. To think you both devised a way to win within the allocated time. I graciously accept this loss. That was a fine match, Tenya commented. Midoriya-kun, to think that you were capable of such a grand feat. You really are full of surprises, aren't you? Diamond Head only chuckles and rubs the back of his head as he looked at Tenya. You were great too, Ada. You really took it seriously, didn't you? Ochako asked before wiping her mouth of vomit. Of course, this training was both great practice for you two as well as provided a great insight into how a villain's mind works. I am thankful for this experience, Tenya declared. Ochako attempts to stifle her laugh upon seeing Tenya's reactions. He's so serious, Ochako thought to herself as she covered her mouth. In the monitoring room, everyone's eyes were glued to the screen that displayed the giant pillars Diamond Head had unleashed. Not only did it destroy the training building, it proceeded to spread towards 3 city blocks and destroy multiple other buildings as well. What is this wicked power? Fumikage stated. That was almost a bit scary, Mina added. But they won, didn't they? Ijiro asked. But at what cost? Shoto replied. All Might shared the same shocked expressions as the students as he stared at the destruction Diamond had caused. What power? To think that just one of Izuku's forms could cause such decimation to 3 whole city blocks. All Might's hands shook slightly as he stared at the screen. Just as I thought. This kind of power. It reeks of him. Back with Katsuki. He was still staring at the giant pillars of diamonds. Both teams, well done. Please, report back to the monitoring room for evaluation. All Might announced. Katsuki looks at his hands, which were trembling as he began to hyperventilate. My explosions. They didn't do a thing to him. I couldn't even put a scratch on him. This is just one of his forms. He's still got more inside him. Katsuki thought to himself. What is this? This feeling. I can't stop shaking. Why can't I stop shaking? Why can't I stop shaking? The entire fight. Deku always had the upper hand. He predicted almost every single one of my moves. He even found a way to win the exercise. Katsuki thought to himself. Wait, does that mean that even if we did fight all out, I'd lose every time? Me, lose? And no, that's not. Was I ever even a match for him? Katsuki then lets out a blood-curdling roar as he began to attack the giant pillar with his explosions repeatedly, screaming as he does for. Katsuki then lets out a blood-curdling roar as he began to attack the giant pillar with his explosions repeatedly, screaming as he does. The building rumbles as Katsuki vents his frustration. What's going on? Tenya yelled. Taken. Diamond Head muttered to himself. Hang on tight. Diamond Head then grabs Ochako and Tenya and proceeds to jump out of the window, causing the two to scream. Just before they met the pavement, however, Diamond Head generates Diamond Slide to which they all land safely on. They turned their attention to the bright flashes on the 4th floor, where Katsuki's roars and explosions could be heard and seen. Sensei, look, Ijiro yelled as he pointed at Katsuki's screen. All Might looks at the screen and sees a wild Katsuki attacking the pillar with all of his rage. Not good, All Might yelled as he dashed out of the room and towards the training building. Katsuki continued his barrage of explosions at the pillar, screaming wildly as he does. He begins to remember their fight after their meeting with their homeroom teacher in junior high, one where Izuku completely overpowered him in almost every way. How? Katsuki thought to himself as he recalled Izuku transforming into 4 arms and XLR8, releasing one final explosion as he does. What the hell is that power of his? How did someone like Deku get such a versatile quirk? Katsuki begins to remember his early childhood with Izuku. He and Izuku were walking through the forest. Katsuki was holding a butterfly net as Izuku carried their bags. Katsuki walked in front of Izuku as Izuku followed a few paces behind. You're so lucky, Kaken. Your quirk's so cool. I hope I get mine soon. Izuku stated. No matter what quirk you get, you'll never be able to beat me, Deku. Katsuki proudly declared. No matter what quirk you get, you'll never be able to beat me, Deku. Katsuki proudly declared. Katsuki in the present begins to catch his breath, breathing slowly and heavily as he looked at the focus spot he attacked. Katsuki in the present begins to catch his breath, breathing slowly and heavily as he looked at the focus spot he attacked. As the smoke cleared, however, the diamond merely had scorch marks with not even so much as a single crack, which shocks Katsuki. What is this feeling? What is it? Is this fear? No way. There's no way I'm scared. I'm never afraid of anything. Katsuki thought to himself, I'm not afraid of anything. Of anyone. Especially not of someone like Deku. He was always just a pebble on my road to greatness, and yet, as Katsuki thought that, he envisioned himself climbing to the top of a mountain, where he stands triumphantly and taller than all the other mountains. As soon as he smiled and looked forward, however, he finds an even grander mountain much larger than the one he's on. This mountain's peak reached past the sky. At its peak was Izuku, standing tall and over him, looking down on him with a look of disdain and disappointment. Katsuki only has a look of disbelief upon seeing this mountain. Izuku, on the other hand, merely looks away and prepared to climb an even taller mountain, leaving him behind. Damn it all, Katsuki yelled as he prepared one final explosion. Before he could release the last explosion, however, All Might places his hand on Katsuki's shoulder, stopping him. Young Bakugo, enough, All Might said in a calm tone. Let's return. It's time for evaluation of the results. I understand your frustration, but whether you win or lose, what matters is that you learn from this experience and use it to sharpen your skills even further. It is simply life, young Bakugo. I understand your frustration, but whether you win or lose, what matters is that you learn from this experience and use it to sharpen your skills even further. It is simply life, young Bakugo. A few minutes later, all 4 participants enter the monitoring room with Izuku still being in his diamond head form. A few minutes later, all 4 participants enter the monitoring room with Izuku still being in his diamond head form. Just as they all lined up, however, a flashing of red and beeping of the dial on Diamond Head's chest attracts everyone's attention as a red flash blinds all of them. You're back to normal, Ochako yelled out. Looks like time's up, Izuku commented as he looks at his hands, smiling proudly as he made a fist with both of them. Now then, back to business. I'd say the MVP of this practice was Tenya, All Might announced, much to the class's shock. It's not either of the winners, Ochako or Midoriya. So you asked All Might. Why is that, I wonder? Any guesses? All Might asked. Yes, sensei, Momo declared as she raised her hand. That is because Ada adapted the most to the context of the training. Watching the match unfold, it would appear that Bakugo-kun acted on his own to settle some personal grudge against Midoriya-kun. As All Might stated before, it is foolish to launch such a large-scale attack indoors when he should have been protecting it. Midoriya-kun is guilty of the same acts, despite holding his own against Bakugo-kun. He ordered Uraraka-san to go on ahead in order to settle this personal grudge with him. Although Uraraka-san was the one to find the bomb, it was clear that she was merely following Midoriya-kun's half-baked plan and didn't have any strategies of her own. Near the end of the battle, both Uraraka-san and Midoriya-kun's plan was much too reckless, especially that pillar move near the end. It caused too much destruction to the area around them than necessary. The hero team won simply because they took advantage of the fact that this was only training and that there were no other residents around them. This also put the weapon in jeopardy as well, despite it only being paper mache. If this were a real situation, the consequences for such a reckless attack would have been devastating. Ada, however, prepared for his opponent's arrival and assumed it would be a fight over the weapon, which made him late in responding to the final attack. As Momo said her piece, Tenya smiles and is filled with pride as he was showered with praise. The entire class looked at Momo in shock as All Might shook with nervousness. She said a lot more than I expected. All Might thought to himself, well, young Ada also has parts of him that could be more relaxed. But in any case, you're correct. So this is Momo Yaoyorozu. She's one of the people who got accepted into the UA Hero course through recommendations like young Todoroki. Scary, All Might thought as he looked at the girl. All right everyone, let's change locations and start the second match. I urge you to tackle this training after thinking about what we just talked about. Yes sir, the class responded. Katsuki keeps his head down, not saying a word as he broods in silence. Izuku rubs his head out of nervousness as he looks down with a bit of shame and embarrassment. Well, I can't exactly say that she's wrong about that. That special move, Thousand Pillar Fortress, ended up a lot bigger than I wanted it to be. Izuku thought to himself as he remembered the warning Ren gave him about using his alien's abilities. -1.5 months into Izuku's training. There is something I should probably mention about your alien forms, Izuku, Ren stated to Izuku, who was struggling to do push-ups. What is it, sensei? Izuku said in between grunts. When in your alien forms, try to keep your emotions in check. If you don't, then you can unintentionally cause serious damage. Ren replied. Seriously, Izuku said before dropping to the ground in exhaustion. So just, how much damage are we talking? Well, for example, Ren said as he walked over to Izuku with a water bottle, to which Izuku accepts. Let's say you're in your heat blast form. You know how he's basically a walking and talking volcano, right? Yeah, well, what do you think will happen when you end up getting triggered by your opponent? Ren asked. You can go what I like to call supernova hot and melt and burn away everything within about a 10-block radius or so, and that's just with heat blast. Wait, I may accidentally cause a supernova just by getting too angry. Izuku blurted. That would be really bad, wouldn't it? Of course it would. As you get older, your transformations will age with you and potentially get even more powerful. So when you're a full-grown adult, I don't even want to know just how much damage you can cause with your 9 other forms in your Omnitrix. That's why I'm training you to keep a level head as much as possible. Anything the villains may say to you, tune it out and focus on the goal at hand. It's easier said than done. After all, we're only human. But remember, one wrong move and you can end up killing the people you want to save. Present. I tried to stay focused but ended up getting riled up by Kaken. I gave in to my anger for a bit, but those few seconds of rage led to devastating result. Izuku thought as he looked at his wave of diamond pillars. Yaoyorozu-sen is completely right. If this were a real situation, I would have put hundreds of people in danger. I need to keep a level head if I want to become a hero that can win and save everyone. Izuku looks over at Katsuki worryingly, seeing the look on his face. Kaken, Izuku thought to himself. The next match begins with the rest of the class watches intently and comment on the battles as they commence. They would witness Shoto's skill of freezing the entire building in order to safely secure the weapon, much to the entire class's shivering. Izuku watched with admiration with all the amazing quirks that his class possessed. Katsuki watched the battles as well, but rather than with admiration, he watched with frustrations and anger, his mouth shut and lip trembling as he does. Izuku's smile slowly fades upon seeing this. Finally, all the matches conclude and everyone meets back at the gate where they came from. All Might stands in front of the class proudly. Good work everyone. You all took this seriously, didn't you? You all did a good job for your first training. All Might announced to the class. To have such a proper class after Aizawa-sensei's class, it's a bit anticlimactic. Suyu stated with the class all agreeing with her. Regardless, you all will make fine heroes someday. All Might replied as he began to turn away from the class. With that, class is dismissed. Train hard and go beyond, plus ultra. With that, class is dismissed. Train hard and go beyond, plus ultra. All Might then dashes off in a flash, leaving a cloud of dust behind him. All Might then dashes off in a flash, leaving a cloud of dust behind him. The students are completely shocked by All Might's speed as some of the girls cover their mouths from the dust. The students are completely shocked by All Might's speed as some of the girls cover their mouths from the dust. All Might looks back at Izuku, who is staring at All Might with a smile. Young Midoriya, I promise, whatever All for One's making you do, I will save you from him. All Might thought as he remembered Ren's smile. Young Midoriya, I promise, whatever All for One's making you do, I will save you from him. All Might thought as he remembered Ren's smile. Ren, exactly what role do you play in all of this? If you're working with All for One, I swear, I will show no mercy. All Might then looks at Katsuki, who is still brooding in silence. Young Bakugo, you're a massive ball of pride. I'm sure it was that affirmation of yourself and your power that has carried you this far. However, there is nothing more fragile than a heart that's been swelled to bursting. As a UA teacher, I must counsel him well. He has great potential, but is blocked by his own ego. I hope you can push past that mindset and become the best version of you, young Bakugo. All Might's amazing, Denki stated. Why was he in such a rush? Mishiro asked. Well, he's the top hero after all. Maybe he's going out on patrol after this. Izuku replied. So cool, Minoru commented. Speaking of cool, that battle of yours was awesome, Midoriya-kun. Mina exclaimed. It was a bit scary near the end, but you were so cool. You and Bakugo both were. Denki added. Izuku began to be swarmed by his fellow classmates once again, much to Izuku's discomfort. Where did you learn to fight like that? Mashiro asked enthusiastically. Do you think you can teach me some? Can you show me that diamond form of yours again? Ijiro asked. It was so cool. Do you mind sparring with me sometime with that four-armed form of yours? Rikido asked. I'd like to have a race with you as well in that strange blue form of yours as well, Midoriya-kun. Tenya asked. Wait everyone, please. I didn't do it by myself. I couldn't have won without Uraraka-san's help. Mina then runs over to Uraraka, much to her surprise. Your quirk is really cool too, Uraraka-chan. Mina stated. Thank you. Ochako replied. I had no idea you could make yourself float with your own quirk. Kyoka commented. It is quite versatile despite the recklessness of the plan in your battle. Momo added. I'm sure with proper training, it will help you become a fine hero. Despite the methods, it was impressive how you made the floor weightless for Midoriya-kun to easily break through it. Suyu added. Your costume's really nice too. Minoru stated as he tried to touch Uraraka's but only to be met by a jab with Kyoka's ear jack. That's enough out of you, Kyoka yelled. Izuku pushes his way past his classmates and walks towards Ochako. As Ochako looks at Izuku, who is blushing slightly, Izuku holds out his fist towards her and smiles. Thank you, Uraraka-san. I couldn't have done this without you, Izuku stated. Ochako smiles and returns the fist bump. You as well, Deku-kun. Let's keep working hard together, Ochako said with a smile. All right, Izuku replied. Ijiro turns to look at Katsuki, who stood in silence with his hair covering his eyes. You were cool too, Bakugo, Ijiro stated as he stepped towards Katsuki, reaching his hand out towards him. Hey, do you want to train together sometime? Katsuki then knocks Ijiro's hand away, shocking the entire class and sending a wave of silence and fear over them. Bakugo-kun, Ijiro muttered. In silence, Katsuki walks away from the group, not saying a word with the entire class watching him walk away. What's his deal? Denki asked. Perhaps the shame of defeat was too much for him. Fumikage commented. Kakin, Izuku whispered as he witnessed this. With All Might was dashing towards the nurse's office as his body began to release steam. He quickly opens the door to the nurse's office and shuts it, surprising the old woman at the desk. All Might, the old woman exclaimed. I apologize, Recovery Girl. I couldn't wait any longer. All Might explained as he transformed back into his skeletal form. Recovery Girl, reached your limit for the day. Ha! Recovery Girl replied as she turned around in her desk. Reached your limit for the day. Ha! Recovery Girl replied as she turned around in her desk. How long will this continue, Toshi? You must have realized that you can't keep living like this, don't you? All Might covered his mouth as he coughed. I know. All Might replied as he sat on the bed. Actually, I came to you with another matter. What is it? Have you finally chosen a successor? Recovery Girl replied. And no, not quite. It's a different matter. All Might replied. What is it then? Recovery Girl asked. All Might folds his hands and looks up grimly at Recovery Girl. It's about him. All for one, All Might replied. Recovery says nothing more and turns to face him, listening intently as he speaks. I think young Midoriya is in trouble. All Might replied. Izuku arrives home and enters, announcing himself as he does. I'm home, Izuku announced as he began to take off his shoes. Welcome home, Inko announced as he greeted Izuku at the door. Inko hugs Izuku, to which he returns. They release each other and begin to walk into the kitchen. How was your day today? I'm sure at a big fancy hero school like UA. You had a lot of excitement, right? Inko asked. Well, I guess you can say that, Izuku responded. Inko makes her back to the stove and resumes cooking. Izuku takes a look around the room, searching for Ren but finds no one. He looks at the table and sees only 2 sets of tableware out. Where's Sensei Mom? Izuku asked. Oh, he stopped by earlier today and said he wouldn't be able to make it tonight, Inko replied as she set down the food. Really? Izuku replied as he walked up to the table. I wonder what he's doing that was so important. Izuku takes a look at the food and smells it all in deeply, appreciating the aroma of the food. As Izuku began to sat down, Inko points the ladle in the pot of miso soup at Izuku with a stern look on her face. Don't think so, mister. Change, wash up, then dinner, Inko said to Izuku. Oh, right, Izuku said before dashing off into his room. Izuku closes the door to his room and began to change out of his school uniform. As he took off his jacket and shirt, he takes a look in the mirror, observing the newly formed muscles on his body. He smiles as he touches his biceps, making a fist with his free arm and feeling the tightness of his muscles as he does. I really have become stronger, not just physically, Izuku thought as he looked at the Omnitrix, but in every way imaginable. Everything I am right now, I owe to Sensei and to you too, Omnitrix. A year ago, I would have never imagined I could become something like this and achieve the things I did. Even so, I still have a long way to go before I'm worthy enough to be called a hero and have access to master control. So let's keep working hard together. As Izuku smiled at the Omnitrix, he recalls earlier today when everyone was preparing to leave class. That late evening, as the class was preparing to leave, Izuku was talking to most of the class, showing them the sketches of his 11 forms in his notebook. Whoa, so you really do have 10 other forms? Denki exclaimed. I'm really digging your diamond head form, Ijiro announced. This form looks the manliest. If we're talking manly, then it's gotta be this form, Nizo replied as he changed the page to 4 arms. Akoda softly muttered as he turned to Wildmutt's page. Aye, like this one. Ridiculous. This form is clearly more applicable than the rest, Fumikage said as he turned the page to Ghost Freak's page. Dark, yet mysterious. Dude, it literally says he's weak to sunlight, Denki pointed out, much to Fumicage's frustration. This guy is the coolest, despite his small size, Denki stated as he pointed to Buzzshock's page. I like this one a lot, Suyu commented as she turned the page to Grey Matter. I think it's cute. I find this form the most interesting, Momo said as she turned to Upgrade's page. The ability to possess any kind of technology and enhance it even further is a most useful ability. This form interests me the most, Tenya announced as he flipped to XLR8's page. To think there was someone much faster than me. I'd love to race against you someday with this form, Midoriya-kun. This form here's pretty rockin' too, Kyoka said as he turned to Ripjaw's page. He looks like he can bite through anything. What's the sexiest form do you have? Minoru asked with a perverted look on his face. Kyoka immediately jabs him in his side and turns to Stinkfly's page. I think you'd like this form a lot, Minda-kun. Unlike you, he only smells like garbage rather than act like it, Kyoka replied. Please don't start fighting. It's all just a matter of personal preference, Izuku blurted out upon seeing Kyoka's assault. Well, I like all these guys, Mina exclaimed. I like how you gave them all names too. It's like you have 11 heroes living inside you, Achako commented. Izuku stammered as he rubbed the back of his head nervously. I can't exactly tell them that Sensei is the one that told me their names. Sorry, Sensei, just let me have this one. Still, man, that's one cool quirk you got there. You're like a living all-in-one hero bundle package, Ijiro commented. Like a toolbox, Denki added. Shoto, who was watching from afar, finally gets up after finishing packing his things. He walks over to Izuku. Everyone, upon noticing, splits in order to let him pass. Midoriya, Shoto said. Why yes, Todoroki-kun, Izuku nervously replied. Sorry to be a bother, but can I see your forms too? Shoto asked. Oh, of course, Izuku said as he handed Shoto his notebook. Thank you, Shoto replied as he took the notebook and flipped through all the pages. As he goes through each of Izuku's alien forms, he lands on a page which clearly irks him. The rest of the class stares at Shoto as he shook with rage slightly, staring at the page he handed on. What are you looking at, Todoroki-kun? Denki asked as he looked over Shoto's shoulder. Oh cool, Heat Blast. Do you like that form too, Shoto? He's actually the first form I ever changed into. His abilities are a lot like Endeavor's, you know. He can probably perform a lot of his special moves too, like the Flash Fire Fist, Jet Burn, maybe even the Hell Spider move. Shoto then abruptly closes Izuku's notebook, surprising the entire class. His hair covers his eyes as he grits his teeth lightly. Upon calming down, he gives Izuku his notebook back. "Thank you, Midoriya," Shoto stated as he walked away from the group. What was that?" the class whispered. Izuku then takes a look over to Katsuki's seat, which was already empty. He stands up and takes a look at the gate to see Katsuki leaving the school. Sorry guys, I have to go too. See you tomorrow," Izuku yelled out as he grabbed his belongings and ran out of the door. The class looks as Izuku runs out of the class in a frenzy, confused by the actions. Izuku quickly runs outside and towards Katsuki, who was still sulking as he walked. "Kaken," Izuku yelled out. "Kaken, wait, I want to talk to you." Izuku finally catches up Katsuki, who stops and turns to look at Izuku. "What do you want, Deku?" Katsuki replied. "Come to rub your win in my face. Come to rub your win in my face." "And no, I just," Izuku replied before looking at Katsuki. They share a long moment of silence together, both unsure of what to say to each other. Finally, Izuku gathers up the courage to speak. "There's one thing I have to tell you, something that I feel you deserve to know," Izuku explained. "During the battle, you said that I tricked you, that I lied about not having a quirk. That isn't completely true." Izuku then grips his Omnitrix for comfort, rubbing it and feeling its metallic yet strange texture as he does. "My quirk, it's a special kind of quirk. One that can't be activated like normal quirks. So for a long time, I was quirkless. Without this device, I still technically would be. So, I didn't lie to you. I just didn't know I had it in me either. This device was gift from someone that chose me, who saw past everything that I was all those months ago and chose to make me a hero. Everything I am right now is all because of that person's faith and gift. That's the truth," Izuku explained. "I put myself through hell training with my newfound power to get here. I knew that if someone like me wanted to be a hero, I'd have to work harder than anyone else has ever did before. Despite this, I never looked down on you. I never thought of you as anything less than amazing. You were born with everything: talent, smarts, a great quirk. That's why I always followed you when we were kids. I wanted to be just like you. I wanted to be a cool hero too. For a long time, you were always my image of victory." There is a long silence upon Izuku finishing his statement. Finally, Katsuki scoffs at Izuku's words. "What the hell are you even saying?" Katsuki replied as he turned to face him. "You're quirkless but not quirkless. You're talking nonsense." Katsuki took a step forward towards Izuku. "What are you trying to do? Make me look like even more of a loser than you already have? Don't make fun of me, Deku," Katsuki yelled out. "What the hell are you trying to say? I lost to you. That's all it was. The first time I ever lost. And it was against you." Izuku looks at Katsuki, who was shaking with frustration and rage. "Do you know what I thought when I was watching that ice guy? I thought I couldn't beat him," Katsuki yelled as he put his hand over his eyes. "Damn it, I even ended up agreeing with what that ponytail girl said. Damn it. I even ended up agreeing with what that ponytail girl said. Damn it. Katsuki then glares at Izuku, who was still staring with a slightly worried look on his face. "My quirk. The moment you transformed into that diamond form, my quirk was useless," Katsuki yelled out as he gripped his hands. "No matter how much I blasted that pillar of yours, it didn't even leave a scratch. I've never felt this useless and powerless in my life. And to think you have 10 more of these forms inside you. It made me question everything. The worst part of it all, I thought that if we ever fought all out, I'd lose. I hated that thought, but there wasn't any other way I could have looked at it. Every outcome I thought of, I lose every time. Damn it all. I hated that thought, but there wasn't any other way I could have looked at it. Every outcome I thought of, I lose every time. Damn it all." Izuku then puts his fist down and takes a step forward, alerting Katsuki and making him enter a fighting stance. Noticing this, Izuku stops his approach and looks Katsuki in the eyes. "I guess you can say it's symbolic in a way, Kaken. In a sense, I'm not the same person I was back in middle school anymore. I won't let anything or anyone hurt me ever again. I won't go back to the way I was before," Izuku replied. "For a long time, you've bullied and tormented me simply because everyone thought I was quirkless. Despite that, I never truly stopped seeing you as my friend. But, eventually, everything has its limits, right?" Izuku then releases his hold on his Omnitrix. He then looks down on the ground in sadness and remembers the years of torment Katsuki had put him through. The time for patching things up between us has long gone by, wouldn't you say? At this point, I don't think there is any hope for us becoming friends like we were in the past. Too much has happened already. The damage is already done," Izuku muttered with a sad tone. Katsuki continues to stare at Izuku, who still had his head down. "I won't ask to be your friend again, amazing as you are, Kaken. I won't be chasing you anymore. I'm tired of chasing someone else's image, Izuku declared. This isn't me saying that I'm better than you, but because I'm going to go down my own path. I won't be aiming for just the #1 spot. Izuku then looks at his right hand, smiling as he remembers Ren's bright smile and encouragement. I'm going to go beyond that, beyond anything this world has ever seen, Izuku announced, beyond anything anyone on this planet could ever imagine. That's why, Izuku smiles confidently as he stares at Katsuki. I won't ask you to be my friend, but rather, can I ask you to be my rival instead? Izuku asked. To keep pushing me to be my best, to punch me when I'm being pathetic, to help me keep my skills sharp. You're the only one that can do this for me. You're the only one I can trust for this. There's no one else I'd rather have as my rival. Izuku asked. Can you do this for me, Kak? No. Katsuki-kun. Katsuki is surprised by Izuku's sudden stop of Izuku's use of his childhood nickname. He stares at the confidant and smiling Izuku in front of him, completely at a loss for words. Then, he grits his teeth in frustration. Beyond this world, beyond the #1 title. Don't mess with me. Don't think just because you won today's exercise that you're better than me. Katsuki yelled before pointing at Izuku. Listen here, Deku, I'm just getting started. You hear me? As long as I'm still here, I won't let you take the #1 spot, because that title belongs to me. Whether you have a quirk or not doesn't matter in the slightest. I'll only get stronger from here. Stronger than anyone else. Stronger than you can even dream of becoming. Izuku smiles and holds out his fist towards Katsuki, still looking him in the eyes as he does. I'll hold you to that, Katsuki-kun. Until then, don't lose to anyone else. Izuku replied. I won't lose to anyone either, so let's both keep pushing each other to our limits. Katsuki turns around angrily and begins to walk away. Whatever. You won't beat me next time, you hear me, bastard? Katsuki replied, yelling. I'll become even stronger than you ever could. Izuku watches as Katsuki walks away, putting his fist and arm down as he does. Izuku keeps his smile as he felt the warmth of the evening sunset. Present, Izuku steps out of his bathroom, drying his hair with a towel as he makes his way into the kitchen. Finally, he sits down with his mother and begins eating his dinner, both of them saying thank you before eating. Izuku proceeds to tell his mother about his day and the battle trial. She was shocked at hearing that Katsuki would go as far as using such a powerful weapon, leading to her panicking and Izuku trying to assure her that he was unharmed. After they had finished eating their meal, Izuku helped clean the dishes and the table before finally heading to bed, almost immediately passing out. 4 hours later, Izuku sleeps soundly in his bed, drooling from the corner of his mouth as he does. A bright blue portal then opens in his room. From it, Ren and Professor Paradox step through. He seems to be sleeping soundly. Professor Paradox stated, Shame, he'll have to wake up for this one. Ren replied as he approaches Izuku and lightly taps his on his cheeks. Izuku, hey Izuku, wake up, Ren whispered as he shook Izuku. Izuku slowly begins to open his eyes and focuses on Ren's smiling face. Sensei, Izuku muttered as he whispered. Izuku then sits up on his bed and rubs his eyes. What are you doing? Izuku said, trailing off before seeing Professor Paradox in his room. Hello young Izuku, so nice to finally meet you, Professor Paradox whispered. Izuku stares at Professor Paradox for a short moment before bursting into a scream. Izuku stares at Professor Paradox for a short moment before bursting into a scream. WW, who are you? How did you? Ren then quickly covers Izuku's mouth, shushing him as he does. Relax, kid, he's a friend. He won't hurt you, Ren whispered. You hear me? Calm down. Izuku nods his head and Ren pulls his hand away from Izuku's mouth. Apologies for the fright, young Izuku. I am Professor Paradox, Paradox said as he held his hand out towards Izuku. Izuku shakes his hand nervously as he rubbed the back of his head. It's nice to meet you, sir, Izuku replied before releasing Paradox's hand. The pleasure is all mine, Paradox replied. Izuku then looks at Ren for an explanation. Sensei, what's going on? Izuku whispered. Well, actually, Ren replied as he stood up. We need your help with something. What is it? Izuku asked. Ren and Paradox look at each other and smile. Ren then looks back at Izuku. Tell me, kid, you ever wanted to go into space? Ren asked. If you have, this is your chance. Izuku looks at Ren with a look of shock, unsure if he had heard him correctly. As space, Izuku replied. Yup, got a pretty serious mission on a different planet and could really use another Omnitrix wielder for this one. So if you're interested, put on some pants and let's get moving, Ren replied. Izuku's eyes widened to the brink of his eyeballs popping out of their sockets. A wide smile spreads across his face at the thought of going into space. No way. A real space adventure. It's like a sci-fi movie, Izuku exclaimed excitedly. Oh, but I have school in the morning. I can't just leave. Dude, you did not just say you have school in the morning when I offered you a space adventure, Ren replied. Well, I figured you might say something like that, which is why Paradox is here. I'll spare you the details, young Izuku, but I am what people call a time walker. As the name suggests, I exist outside of time's restrictions and can travel to any point in time, in any universe, in any reality. Paradox explained. Wait, so you can time travel. So time travel really is possible? It's only been a theory until now. Scientists have been debating the matter on whether or not the concept was even a feasible topic for exploration, although there have been some papers claiming that black holes could just be a rip in the time stream. Izuku rambled. Ah, this must be the habit you spoke of, Ren. Paradox replied. Yup, once he gets going, the only way to stop him is. Ren replied before smacking Izuku's head. Oh, Izuku yelped. Stop nerding out, we don't have much time. Ren replied. I'm afraid he's right, young Izuku. Time is short and we must act quickly. You are the key to this mission. Without you, countless solar systems, including yours, will be in great jeopardy. Paradox replied. As for your school worries, once the mission has been completed, I will simply travel you back in time to the point where you had just left. It will be as if you never even awoke at all. This mission depends on me. Well, if that's the case. All right then, Izuku said as he jumped out of his bed and smacked himself awake. What's the situation, sensei? First, put on some pants. Trust me, you're going to need them. Ren replied. After doing as Ren had instructed, Paradox opens a portal and all three of them walk through. On the other side, Izuku suddenly finds himself in a high-tech station-like location with a large dome and windows showing all the stars in the universe. And no way, Izuku yelled as he ran to the window next to him and looked out of it. No way, we're actually in space. Sensei, we're actually in space. Yeah, I kinda got that, kid. Ren replied, chuckling. Izuku then pulls his face away from the window and looks back at Ren. Sensei, where are we exactly? Izuku asked. Ren smiles and held his arms open wide. Izuku, welcome to the Plumbers HQ, Ren announced. Izuku, Ren and Paradox walked through the Plumbers HQ hallway with Izuku constantly looking out at the window, watching the spaceships fly by as well as the many stars that illuminated the station. Ren looks at Izuku and chuckles with amusement. We're really in space. I can't believe it. We're really in space, Izuku exclaimed as he stared into the great beyond. This is so exciting. Focus, kid. Don't forget we're here on official Plumbers business, Ren replied. Izuku immediately jumps at the announcement and stands at full attention. All right, sorry, sensei, Izuku replied. The first time is always such a thrill, isn't it? Paradox commented. Don't worry, young Izuku, your excitement is well warranted for. Come on, we haven't even gotten to the cool part yet, Ren replied as he rubbed Izuku's hair. Follow me. Ren and Paradox walk past Izuku, who stands dumbfounded at the comment from Ren. Wait, this isn't the cool part, Izuku replied as he ran after the two. Soon they get to a large elevator, to which Izuku makes a strange sound in appreciation of the size. Ren strikes Izuku on his head, snapping him out of his strange habit. Don't do that here, for both our sakes. Come on, get on, Ren stated as he and Paradox stepped into the elevator with Izuku following promptly. How about you push the button? Very last one on the bottom. Izuku looks at the strange panel with alien-like symbols on it. As instructed, he presses the last button on the panel. The elevator doors close and begin to descend, slightly startling Izuku. As they descend, Izuku takes a look at the passing levels of the station in silent amazement. So awesome, Izuku announced as he pressed his face against the glass. The HQ is this big. So many different alien species here. So cool. Yes, quite spectacular, isn't it? This is but one of thousands of stations placed around the galaxy, Paradox replied. Thousands, Izuku exclaimed as he turned his head to look at Paradox. Indeed, each station pertains to a section of the galaxy in which they protect from intergalactic threats and other illegal activity. You see, young Izuku, as impressive as the heroes on Earth are, most of the people here don't have any special quirks as you call them. Most are simple life forms, simply wanting to make a difference in the universe, Paradox explained. That's why I've been telling you this, kid. Quirks certainly help quite a bit, but it's the heart that matters in the end. Like how you charged into danger in order to save your friend. That is what the plumbers here respect the most. The instinct of self-sacrifice. Ren added, you can definitely thank my sensei Ben for the state the plumbers are in right now. He alone inspired millions from across the galaxy to join the plumbers in order to bring stability to the universe. Izuku then turns his attention back to the many different species and plumber agents with a bit of a shocked look on his face. Looks like we're here, Ren stated as the elevator stopped. The doors open. Ren, Paradox, and Izuku all step out of the elevator and make their way through the main hub. Izuku continues to look around in amazement and wonder when he suddenly bumps into someone. Oh, I'm sorry. Izuku looks up at the person he had just bumped into. It was a tall man in black armor-like clothing and long black hair. Never seen you around here before. You a stowaway or something? The man asked. We don't take too kindly to unwanted guests around here, kid, Artist link, https, divided by www3. Artist link, https, divided by www.devintort.com/ngelocn/art/Kevin11 future redesign 902,078,928. And no, I was just. Izuku replied as he trembled at the man's overwhelming height and size. You were just what, kid? The man yelled as he grabbed Izuku's collar and lifted him up. Spit it out. Devlin, Ren yelled angrily. The man looks behind Izuku and locks eyes with Ren. Who the hell do you think you're grabbing? Put him down before I give you another scar to match that train wreck you call a face. Ren yelled out as he walked towards Devlin. Devlin lets go of Izuku and pushes him to the side. Devlin begins to walk towards Ren angrily as well. Well, who do we have here? Didn't think you'd ever show your ugly mug around here ever again, Ren. Devlin replied. I'm surprised you're still kicking. Figured you would have been 6 feet under by now. Ren replied. Finally, the two meet halfway and gaze at each other angrily, with Izuku trembling at the sight of the tension. Think you can just walk in here whenever you want? Expect us to just roll out the red carpet for you whenever you stroll on by? Devlin asked. I'm still a plumber agent, aren't I? I think I'm free to come and go as I please, Devlin. Ren replied. Red carpet would have been nice, but green's more my style. Should have stayed where you were, because now I get to do this. Devlin replied as he suddenly lifted his arm up for a punch. Izuku, at the sight of this, immediately jumps into the action only to be stopped by Paradox's cane. Izuku looks over to Paradox, who was smiling as he shook his head no at Izuku. Then, a quiet thump was heard. Izuku then looks over at the two and sees them fist bumping. They initiate their secret handshake, which ends with an explosion effect of their hands. They chuckle and hug. How you've been, you loser? Devlin asked. Better than you, asshole. Last time I saw you, you were still rocking a ponytail and a black eye. That scar on your chin is new though. Ren replied as he let go of Devlin. Yeah, some things happened. You know the deal. Devlin replied. Gotta say, you really do look like Kevin now with that scar though. The resemblance is almost scary if I'm being honest. Ren replied, chuckling. Please don't bring it up. I already have to live with it every day when I look in the mirror. Devlin replied. Still with that chick from Vargan? Ren asked. Nah, broke it off a while back. Long distance, plumber business, you get the gist. Devlin replied. Devlin then looks over to Izuku, who gets a bit startled at the stare. So, this him, your successor? Devlin asked. Yup, Izuku Midoriya. Ren replied. Hey, hate to get off topic so fast, but where's Eve? Right, about that. Devlin replied before being cut off. Ren. A female voice echoed throughout the base. From the top level of the base, a female body made of blue energy flies down and immediately embraces Ren with a hug. Ren, I can't believe you're back. I knew I sensed your energy from the moment I stepped into the base. I missed you so much. It's been too long. The energy girl exclaimed. Ren, I can't believe you're back. I knew I sensed your energy from the moment I stepped into the base. I missed you so much. It's been too long. The energy girl exclaimed. Artist link, https, divided by www.devintort.com/nodyte bases. Art, blue anodite 270,844,665. Ren returns the hug to the blue energy girl, smiling and chuckling as he does. Sorry, Eve, I've just been busy. Ren said as the two release each other. So I've heard, Mr. Liberator. Don't think we haven't heard about how you fought the Legion of 5,000 incursions on your own on the planet Tapung. Overboard much? Eve replied. Have you been well? For the most part, yeah. More importantly, look at you. So you went through with the offer your mom and great-grandma offered? Ren asked. Yeah, it was a good opportunity to learn about my anodite heritage. Grandma said I'm really talented. Even mastered this form in less than 4 years when it would have taken my mom over 70. Eve replied. Eve then fiddles with her hair as she squirms out of embarrassment. Does it look weird? Eve asked as she brushed a strand of her energy hair back behind her ear. Not at all. I think you look beautiful. Ren replied with a smile. Eve then proceeds to blush as she hides her face in her hands. She begins to squeal and float as she performs small kicks to the air, expressing her joy and embarrassment. The tips of her hair even turn pink for a moment. Oh Ren, you sweet talker, you have such a way with words, I can't take it. Eve replied quickly. Ren only stares in confusion of Eve's reaction as Devlin face palms himself, shocked by Ren's lack of understanding and tact. They seem really familiar with each other. Izuku commented. Correct. There was a time where these three were a team. Together, they were unstoppable. Devlin Levin, part Osmosion, Anodite and Human. He served as the group's heaviest hitter, known throughout the galaxy as the Steel Dragon for his immense peerless spirit and strength. Evelyn Levin, the younger sister of Devlin Levin. Now a pure anodite and energy being, she chose to shed her human body in order to get more in touch with her ancestry. She served as the advisor of Team. Her mastery over the magical arts and mana manipulation through the teachings of her mother and grandmother earned her the nickname, the Blue Valkyrie, for her decisions decided the outcome of a battle. Lastly, of course, there was Ren 10,000, wielder of the Omnitrix and successor to Ben 10,000. Little known fact he never told you. Not only was he known as the symbol of courage for his bravery and ferocity in the face of danger, but has been given the nickname of Stormbreaker for his ability to turn the tides of a battle. Paradox explained. Together, they formed Team VIC3. They formed the best strike force team the Plumbers had to offer. Stormbreaker, Steel Dragon, Blue Valkyrie. Izuku muttered as he looked at the three. Izuku stared at the three as they continued to talk. He squeals quietly as his eyes widened and a smile spread across his face, feeling the aura that the three emanated from just their very beings. They look so cool, Izuku replied. Wait, what does the VIC mean? Izuku asked Paradox. Just as Izuku looked over to his left, Paradox was gone. Izuku frantically looks around for Paradox, to which Evelyn then glances at Izuku and immediately flies over to him, smiling as she does. Professor Paradox, Izuku asked himself. Well, who's this cutie? Evelyn asked. Izuku turns his attention of Evelyn, who was now in his personal space, causing him to panic. I am Izuku Midoriya, asked Sensei's student. It's very nice to meet you, Izuku said as he blushed at the sight of Evelyn. If she's just an energy being, then why does she smell so good? Student, Sensei, Evelyn replied as she glanced over to Izuku's wrist, noticing the Omnitrix. Oh, you must mean Ren. Ren then looks over to the two and walks towards them, with Devlin following behind. I see you've met my student, Ren replied as he stood by Izuku, placing his hand on Izuku's shoulder. Met him back on Earth almost a year ago. He may not look like much, but trust me, he's got the makings of a proper hero. I'm Evelyn Levin. It's very nice to meet you, Izuku, Evelyn said as she held out her hand. Izuku quickly shakes her hand out of nervousness. And no, the pleasure's all mine, Ms. Evelyn, Izuku frantically replied. Oh, he's so shy. How adorable, Evelyn commented. Devlin steps towards Izuku and holds out his hand. Sorry about earlier before, kid. Just wanted to mess with you a bit. I'm Devlin Levin, Evelyn's older brother. Nice to meet you, Devlin stated. Oh, I'm Izuku Midoriya from Earth. The pleasure's all mine, sir. Devlin, sir, Izuku responded nervously as he shook Devlin's hand. Just Devlin's cool, Devlin replied as he smiled. How's the Omnitrix been treating you? I'm surprised it's still working despite everything Ren put it through in the past. It's been great actually. I've never experienced anything like it before, Izuku replied as he looked at the Omnitrix. It's an amazing opportunity to learn from the galaxy's greatest hero. Is that so? Say, you planning to join the Plumbers when you're old enough? Devlin asked. Well, I don't know right now exactly, but, Izuku replied. Come on Devlin, lay off him. He's still got a lot of time to think about it before then, Ren replied. Devlin here is the second highest plumber agent in this section of the universe. He's also the leader of the Rooters team. The Rooters, Izuku asked. Think of it as like the Black Ops division of the Plumbers. We handle the dirty work that most would consider unethical but necessary. Our hands get dirty and the universe stays clean, Devlin replied. Oh, I almost forgot, big bro, Evelyn exclaimed as her hands glowed and brought down 10 criminals, all wrapped up in energy bindings and knocked out. Mission completed. These are the top officials of the Havoc Boys gang. And the cargo transport, Devlin asked. Already have the asset recovery team on it, Evelyn declared. Well, what do you say? Come on, let's hear it, big bro. All right, you were right, I was wrong. You have clearance to go on solo missions from now on, Devlin replied. But if it ever gets too hot, please just call us or the Rooters. You care so much for your little sister's safety, don't you? Evelyn replied playfully. Izuku glances over at the villains that Evelyn had wrapped up. He takes note of the many different alien species that were captured. These guys all look really strong. She took them all down by herself. Amazing, Izuku thought to himself. As Izuku had thought that, the lights then shut off immediately and a large pillar began to elevate. Sensei, what's going? Izuku looks over to Ren, who quickly places his hand on Izuku's shoulder to reassure him. Don't worry, this is normal, Ren replied, chuckling. Flashy as ever, Devlin commented. Evelyn frantically tries to find a way to cover her hair, which was disturbing the other agents with its bright glow. Ren then hands her his jacket, smiling at her as he does. She blushes once more and accepts the jacket, throwing it over her head as she smelled it. Ren's jacket. Oh, it even smells like him, Evelyn thought to herself as she smelled Ren's jacket. Once the pillar stopped elevating, 3 spotlights shine down on the top of a man standing at the top of the pillar. Attention all plumber agents. Thank you all for coming and reporting in on such short notice, the man at the top of the pillar announced. Who's that? Izuku whispered. The official top dog around these parts. Ren replied as he smiled. Magister Rook Blanco, current commander-in-chief of all plumber bases. Devlin replied. I come to you today with a mission that is of the utmost severity. One that if not dealt with immediately could potentially bring about the end of the universe as we know it. Rook explained. But hey, just another Wednesday at Plumbers HQ, am I right? Today's mission will require the efforts of every veteran and recruit we have to offer. Rook announced. Our scouts have confirmed the Galactic Black Market's development of a bootleg version of Threat Level 15 Element X. The entire base breaks into mutters of worry and shock as they all whisper among themselves. Element X, Izuku said to himself. A rare and highly volatile crystal sustenance. Ren replied. It's an element that was originally found on the planet Thalasha, but it was destroyed years ago, making it even more rare. Normally by itself, it wouldn't pose as much of a threat. Then why? Izuku replied. It's when you combine Element X with other materials is when its true power shines. With the right components and technology, Devlin added. It has the power to completely destroy an entire solar system in a single blast. Evelyn replied. Izuku's eyes widened at the sound of an entire solar system, wiped out in a mere blink of an eye. Seriously, Izuku replied. Wait, didn't he say the black market was developing this? Just as surprised as you are, kid. Paradox wasn't kidding when he said this was a universe-ending threat. Ren replied. We've had a few close calls in the past with Element X, but I thought we rounded up all of it. Guess we missed a few. Devlin replied. Can't make a copy without having the original to start with. To think that it's circulating the black market. It makes me want to pummel whoever's making copies of these instead of turning it into the proper authorities. Evelyn commented. With you there. Ren replied. Izuku returns his attention to Rook, putting on a serious look on his face as he stands up straighter. If what they say about this Element X is true, then I have to take this seriously. Trillions of lives could be at stake. Izuku thought to himself as he solidified his resolve and looked around the room. Everyone here is serious about this. It's just as Aizawa-sensei said. Everyone else is here to save lives. I have to be of the same mind if I'm going to be a hero. Over the past month, we have seen a spike in illegal weapons trading. While confiscating the weapons, we've discovered that the weapons were all powered by this copy of Element X. Rook explained while showing everyone a projection of the fake crystal. This copy of the crystal is composed of tadenite, a rare and precious crystal that is practically indestructible, which serves as the shell. We believe it is then synthesized with the natural energy from the original Element X as well as some other strange energy. Unfortunately, we aren't able to identify the second element at this time. With the reports from our scouts, we were able to pinpoint the location of the fake crystals to the planet Targarath. Rook announced as he pulled the planet up on the screen. For those that are unfamiliar, Targarath is a planet that has no true inhabitants and is a melting pot of different species and races of aliens. It was industrialized by immigrant aliens who had left their home planets for a new start in their lives. Since then, however, constant use of impure energy sources have transformed this once blossoming planet into a near-decrepit wasteland. Along with this report, we have learned that the underworld criminal, Vulcanus, had arrived 6 months prior on the planet. Rook then pulls up a picture of Vulcanus for everyone to see. Izuku takes a good long look at the criminal and gulps out of nervousness. Sensei, who's this? Izuku asked nervously. Vulcanus, an underworld criminal known for exporting and collecting rare and illegal materials and selling them to the highest bidder. Had a few run-ins with him in the past, caught him with his pants down real bad and finally got the green light to toss him in the null void a few years back. Ren explained. He escaped about a year and a half ago. Thought that would be the last we ever saw his ugly face again. Devlin added as he scratched his head in frustration. Can't believe we're dealing with this asshole again. Seriously, a blockhead like Vulcanus escaped the null void. Ren replied. How'd that happen? Who knows? Evelyn replied. All that matters is that we stop him. Ren turns to Izuku, who was observing Vulcanus's picture closely, humming as he does. Ren chuckles and smiles as he proceeded to tap Izuku's back, snapping him out of his trance. Relax, we got this. He'll be back in custody before you know it. Ren replied. It's not that, it's just. Izuku replied. Nervous for a real space mission? Ren replied. Izuku shamefully nods his head, not making eye contact as he does. More like I know this is important and if we fail, then. But still, like you said, Sensei, I have to focus on the future I want to achieve. Right now, I want a future where no one in the universe has to live in fear of Element X or its copies being used as a weapon. Izuku announced. Evelyn's eyes widen with surprise upon hearing Izuku's words as Ren proceeds to rub Izuku's hair. Much to Izuku's dismay, spoken like a true hero, Ren replied, You're getting cooler and cooler by the day. Sensei, stop it, Izuku whispered while laughing. We have reason to believe that Vulcanus is the mastermind behind this inflation of fake Element X's, as well as being in possession of one. Currently, the exact whereabouts of the real Element X on the planet are unknown. However, Volcanus has been hosting events over the past several weeks in which he rewards the winner with a shard of the fake element X. Rook explained. Our mission is to capture Volcanus and interrogate him on how he's making these fakes and shut it down. However, it will not be easy. He has employed the protection of 3 dangerous mercenaries to be by his side at all times. Kyber the Hunter, Sunder, and 7-7. Rook then changes the projections to Kyber the Hunter, 1, Sunder, 7-7, 7-7. Whoa, these guys look like trouble. Izuku commented. Worse, they're the real deal. Merciless, cunning, and feared everywhere. These guys are one of the top bounty hunters currently in the galaxy. Ren explained. This definitely will not be easy. You up for the challenge? Why yes, sensei, of course. Izuku replied. So eager. Evelyn replied. It's kinda cute how serious you are. There is however still a chance we can complete this mission. Rook announced as he pointed his finger upwards. And that chance is standing in this very room. Team VIC3, please come up here. As Rook points at the 4, the spotlight then shines on Ren, Devlin, Evelyn, and Izuku, surprising Izuku. Looks like we're up. Devlin stated. Shouldn't keep him waiting. Ren chuckled with a smile. Let's go then. Evelyn replied. Hey Izuku, come on, let's go. Ren said as he lightly shoved Izuku to walk with him. Wait, me too. Izuku yelled as he watched the 3 walk away. Sensei, wait up. Izuku nervously and reluctantly follows the team as they confidently stride towards the stage. Izuku listens into the crowd's whispers, all of them talking about the 3. No way, Team VIC3 together in person. A new recruit in the crowd whispered. They're one of, if not, the best team that ever existed in the Plumbers. The Blue Valkyrie, Evelyn Levin. She's even cuter in person. A male recruit exclaimed. The things I'd do to her. Don't let Devlin catch you saying that. He might just bash your head in for that comment. A sergeant replied. I heard the last guy to try hitting on her ended up with 2 black eyes and locked in an animal cell in his underwear. A recruit added. Besides, she's only got eyes for 1 guy. I bet I know who it is too, lucky bastard. The male recruit replied. Look, it's really Ren 10,000. I can't right now. He's really here, just a few feet from me. A female recruit whispered back as she jumped up and down. Quiet down, we don't want him to think we're weird. Another female recruit replied. Kinda too late for that. Still, we're in the presence of some real powerful people. A male recruit commented. Ren 10,000, wielder of the Omnitrix and the Stormbreaker. Devlin Levin, son of Kevin Levin and known as the Steel Dragon. A male recruit whispered. Those 2 have a lot of history between them. That much I know. I heard they were pretty serious rivals back when they were still in the academy. Another recruit commented. People say that when they first met, they hated each other's guts and would fight any time they saw each other. Another recruit commented. Their brawls would get so out of hand that even Magister Blanco had to step in to break it up from time to time. Their fights were so legendary that you could still see the damages they caused to the classrooms and cafeteria. Wait, who's the kid? The crowd whispered as they all looked at Izuku, who flinches at the question. Is he a human? Wait, look, his wrist. A recruit pointed out. An Omnitrix. Wait, so is he Ren's student? Another recruit stated. He doesn't look like much though. A male recruit pointed out. Think Ren's playing favorites just because he's a human like him? A recruit asked. Izuku then quickly looks over to the recruit that said that and glares at him, making the recruit flinch slightly. Izuku then continues walking with the rest of the group as they step on a large panel that brings them up to Rook. Ren then walks up to Rook and shakes his hand. Ren, Devlin, Evelyn, thank you both for coming. Rook said to Ren. Not a problem, Rook, happy to help. Ren replied. Rook then looks over to Izuku, who is as stiff as a board. He smiles and walks towards Izuku, holding out his hand. I take it this is the student you were so proud of? Rook asked. I'm Magister Rook Blanco. It's very nice to finally meet you. I'm Izuku Midoriya, Magister Blanco. The honor's all mine. Izuku replied as he shook Rook's hand. Rook then turns his attention to the crowd as the spotlight shines on the 4, who are now standing at attention. To help us with this mission, I've enlisted the legendary Team VIC3. The plan will be as simple as this. We will send in an agent and proceed through the tournament like normal as to not arouse suspicions. Once the agent is close enough to Volcanus, we will launch a surprise attack with Team VIC3 being the vanguard of the operation. Rook announced, in which we will confirm that Volcanus is the producer of these fake crystals and destroy their production line. But Magister, who will you send to enter the tournament? A recruit asked. A very good question. The answer is right here. Rook said as he pointed to Izuku, surprising him. The next successor of the Omnitrix will be the one entering the tournament. Please, come up Izuku Midoriya. Wait, what? Me. Izuku yelled out as he looked to Ren. This is some mistake, right sensei? Nope, in fact, I was the one who recommended you. Ren replied with a thumbs up. You couldn't have at least talked to me about it first. Izuku replied. Izuku, come on. We don't have all day. Rook said teasingly. Izuku reluctantly comes up to the front of the stage and stands next to Rook, blushing insanely as he does. As per the recommendation of Ren 10,000 himself, Izuku Midoriya will be the agent we send in undercover to participate in the tournament. Rook announced. Izuku, why don't you introduce yourself? Say a few words. Wait, I am not, Izuku said before Rook lightly shoves him towards the crowd. Izuku takes a long look at the hundreds of plumber agents that were all looking up at him. It was deadly quiet. He stammered on single syllables and sweated profusely. Oh man, I was so not ready for this. What do I even say? My head's spinning. I can hardly even breathe. What do I do? What do I? Izuku thought to himself as he looked back at Ren, who motions for Izuku to take a deep breath. Ren then points towards his heart, then points back at Izuku's heart and flashes a smile along with a thumbs up. Izuku nods, smiles, then takes a deep breath, closing his eyes as he does. Then, he looks at the crowd with a more confident smile. My name's Izuku Midoriya, a human from Earth. I was born in a country called Japan. Until almost about 1 year ago, I didn't even know that aliens and other life forms existed out in the universe. Izuku said as he looked at his hand. Back on Earth, we have a lot of heroes, each with their own unique powers and abilities we call quirks. Nearly 80% of Earth's population has at least one quirk. But I was born without any. The crowd gasped slightly at this statement and began to whisper. Even so, I still wanted to be a hero, just like my original idol, a hero named All Might. But everyone always told me that it was impossible without a quirk. They called me a lot of names, but this one nickname always stuck. It was given to me by my own former childhood friend, Deku. In Japanese, it translates to useless, or someone who couldn't do anything at all. Izuku explained as tears began to form a bit in his eyes. You can't become a hero. These were the words that everyone had always told me almost my entire life. Even so, I still believed in my dream. I wanted to save as many people as I could with a bright smile. But as I got older, I slowly started to lose hope. I felt like I was being delusional. I started to believe that everyone around me was right. I almost gave up. The crowd listening to Izuku clicked their tongues in frustration at Izuku's story, some even trying desperately holding back their tears. Evelyn's expression turned into one of sadness as she felt the emotional pain Izuku had inside of him. Izuku then looks back at Ren with a bright smile. But then one day, I met my sensei, Ren 10,000. He had just saved me from a villain attack and found out I wanted to become a hero. See, I have notebooks that I write in. I fill them with analyses of heroes that I think are amazing. Sensei went through the book and asked if I wanted to be a hero. Sensei was the first person ever to tell me that I can become a hero, that I just needed to have the courage and the heart to become one. Then that same day, my former childhood friend got attacked by the same villain that attacked me. I almost stood by and did nothing, thinking that the professional heroes would save him. But they all just stared and waited until someone with the proper quirk came. Before I could even think, the moment I saw the pain in his eyes, my legs moved on their own. Izuku said as he made a fist with his hand. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have any time to think. I didn't have any special abilities. All I knew was that I had to do something, anything to help him. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. Not when someone needed help. The crowd listens in awe, most of them smiling while still tearing up. Sensei came to my rescue once more, and with his help, I was able to save my former friend. Afterwards, Sensei came and offered me to become his student and successor, an opportunity of a lifetime. Izuku stated as he smiled at the Omnitrix. He told me that wearing the Omnitrix would make me a symbol of unity, and made me promise that as long as I could still fight, I would do everything in my power to save everyone I can. I can't thank him enough for this. Even after the 10 months of training like hell in Sensei's teachings, I managed to shed the weak shell my old self had spent his entire life building and formed an even stronger spirit. That's why I want to prove to everyone and myself that I can be a hero. Despite the Omnitrix and all its power, I am still just one person. I'm far from indestructible or invincible. Looking at everyone here, I see nothing but amazing people who wants to do the right thing for justice and peace. I still have much left to learn, so until I fully master the Omnitrix and its secrets. Izuku then gets on his hands and knees, bowing before the crowd, shocking everyone in the room. Please everyone, lend me your strength. It will take all of us to stop this volcano. Potentially trillions of lives are at stake. I refuse to sit by and do nothing when I have the power to do something. I'm sure you're all the same way. All men are not born equal. This is the harsh truth I learned at a young age. But it is because of that same truth that I wish to become a hero. I will not let this Omnitrix that was given to me by my sensei to be wasted. Truth be told, this will be my first serious mission and I'm terrified beyond belief. But as long as I can still breathe and stand, I will not let any more lives be snuffed out like a flame in the wind, not when I can be their sword and shield. That is the choice. No, the responsibility that I have chosen to pursue. But I need all of your help, so please, put your trust in me. I promise I won't let any of you down. Izuku announced loudly to the crowd, leaving them all in silence. Then, one sergeant begins to clap by himself, breaking the silence. Izuku looks up at the sergeant. Then another agent starts to clap. Then 3 more people begin to clap. Soon, the entire base claps for Izuku's speech. They whistle and cheer even louder, shocking Izuku as he stares at everyone with awe. "I like your guts, kid," a major yelled out. "We're with you all the way, Izuku." A recruit yelled out, "You can count on us." Another recruit yelled, "Let's go kick Vulcanus's butt." A female recruit yelled out, "Everyone," Izuku whispered as he smiled and teared up. Rook then places his hand on Izuku's shoulder, gazing at him with a smile. "I couldn't have said it better myself," Rook said to Izuku. Izuku wipes his tears away and stands up, bowing towards the crowd as he walks back to Ren's side. Ren then punches Izuku's arm. "Oh, what was that?" Izuku looks towards the 3. They're all smiling confidently at Izuku. "Now that was some speech," Devlin commented. "You were so inspirational, you even had me tearing up a bit." Evelyn replied. Ren rubs Izuku's hair and laughs. "You got everyone fired up now. There's no way we can lose now," Ren declared. Izuku's eyes brighten as he returned the smile. "Why yeah, we can do this," Izuku said as he pumped his fist in the air. "That's what I'm talking about. Let's do this," Devlin yelled out. "With that, everyone, prepare your battle stations. The mission and tournament will begin in exactly 4 hours. Prepare quickly and set a course for Targarath," Rook declared. Everyone cheers loudly as they began to exit, preparing themselves for the mission. Rook then walks over to Izuku, who is still getting his hair rubbed by Ren. Izuku then looks up at Rook, who had a look of pride and amazement on his face. "I must admit, Izuku Midoriya, that was a truly arousing speech you gave. Between you and I believe you'll make a fine hero someday. Once you're old enough, I'd love to have you on board with the Plumbers, if you're interested, of course," Rook stated. "I'll definitely think about it, Magister Blanco," Izuku replied. "Please, just Rook is fine. See you in 4 hours, everyone. Look sharp," Rook said to the rest of the group as he walked away. "I'm gonna go round up the rooters. We'll meet back at my ship. See you in a bit," Devlin stated as he ran off. Evelyn then looks over at Ren and floats over to him. "I'll see you on the ship, Ren. You too, Izuku," Evelyn stated as she floated away, turning back and blowing them a kiss before she leaves. "Bye." As Izuku and Ren waved Evelyn goodbye, Izuku then looks back at Ren confusingly. "So sensei, do you know?" Izuku asked. "Know what?" Ren replied. "Seriously, sensei, you know Evelyn and the thing, how she acts, talks, around you specifically." Izuku continued. "That's just how Evelyn acts like normally," Ren replied bluntly. Izuku merely sighs in disbelief and frustration. "Somehow, I doubt that," Izuku thought to himself. In other news, "Come on, I want to show you something real quick before we head out. Follow me," Ren stated as he ran towards an exit door. Hey, wait up, sensei," Izuku yelled as he chased after Ren. Izuku follows Ren quietly down the halls of the Plumbers HQ. They make their way past multiple doors and gates before finally making their way to a small elevator. Ren presses the button that takes them down and they wait patiently for the elevator to rise. "Sensei, where are we going?" Izuku asked Ren. "To see a bit of my past," Ren replied. "Your past?" Izuku replied. "Yep, to my old room here. Don't you want to know the kind of teenager your sensei was like back then?" Ren asked teasingly. "Well, I mean," Izuku muttered as he looked away nervously, scratching his head as he did. "Judging from the rumors I heard in the crowd, along with what you've told me about being a gang leader, if we were the same age, you'd definitely be the type of person I'd rather avoid. Besides, I want to give you a gift before we head out to our mission," Ren explained. "A gift? Is it a new alien? In that case, you just do it here, can't you?" Izuku exclaimed excitedly. "I told you before, kid, I gave you Buzzshock because you earned it. The same rule applies for any future aliens. You have to prove to me that you're ready for a new one," Ren replied. "But how will I do that? Your standards aren't exactly clear-cut and dry, you know," Izuku replied. The elevator arrives and the doors open. Ren steps inside with Izuku following promptly behind. "Patience, kid. First rule I taught you. Don't worry, I wouldn't fret over it too much. Just keep doing what you're doing. Come on, press the fourth to last button on the far right side," Ren stated. "This one," Izuku said as he pressed a button on the pad. The elevator doors close and begins to descend. Izuku waits patiently in the elevator with then. He looks up towards Ren, who had his eyes closed and listened quietly to the elevator music that played. But the type of person Sensei was after he was taken in by his sensei. I have to wonder, was Sensei always like this? Izuku thought to himself as he stared at Ren's relaxed smile. Sensei's life was hard ever since he was a kid. He had to do things he never wanted to in order to survive. Did he learn how to overcome that, or does he still live with that guilt? Now that I think about it, there's still so much about Sensei I still don't know. He's told me stories about his adventures, but hardly ever anything about when he was a student of his sensei. Izuku then remembers Ren speaking about Ben during the night the staff of UA visited his home. Well, he's been dead for a very long time now. So, I don't really blame you for not knowing him. He was a good man, the best sensei anyone could ask for. He changed my life. Ren's words echoed in Izuku's mind. What happened to Ben 10,000? It must be hard for him to talk about. Izuku thought to himself. The elevator doors open, snapping Izuku and Ren out of their own heads. Ren steps out of the elevator with Izuku following behind, almost tripping over himself as he tried to rush. They make their way down the hallway until they reach a door directly ahead of them in the hallway. The number on the room was labeled 100. Ren placed his hand on the scanner next to the door. The panel scanned his hand then lit green. The door unlocks and Ren opens it. Well, welcome to my old room, Ren announced as he opened the door. Izuku looked past Ren and observed the details of the room itself. It was slightly barren with dark gray painted walls, a hovering white desk and chair, along with a bookcase filled with figurines of alien toys and books to decorate it. The bed had a white cover with a black blanket neatly folded at the end of the bed and 2 gray pillows at the top of the bed. Man, sure has been a while, Ren commented as he stepped into the room. It feels like a million years since I've been back here. Ren walks towards the bookcase and takes one of the action figures, holding it up to the light and admiring it. He takes a look at the desk, seeing the multiple framed pictures from when Ren was younger. Hey, is this you, sensei? Izuku asked as he ran over to the desk and picked up the photos. Wow, how old were you when these were taken? The first photo was 1 year after Ben took me in. The second one was a few months after that when Team VIC-3 was first formed. The third one was about 7 years ago, back when we were given the Galactic Medal of Honor for bravery and service, Ren replied. The first picture was when Ben had first taken Ren under his wing. Ben was smiling brightly as he rubbed Ren's hair, while Ren looks disgruntled and unamused, sporting the plumber's uniform. The next photo was of Team VIC-3 during their early years as cadets. Ren and Devlin had each other by their collars as Evelyn in her human form tried to separate them, smiling as best as she could. Evelyn had long brown hair and green eyes in her human form. The third form had all of them in formal clothes. Ren, Devlin, and Evelyn all had a beautiful jewel-encrusted award pinned on their clothes. Devlin was tugging at his tuxedo's collar. Evelyn was blushing as she stared at Ren, while Ren was smiling as he waved to the crowd. These look like really good memories, sensei, Izuku commented. They sure were, Ren replied. Izuku then puts the picture back on the desk and took a look at the bookcase as well. He couldn't read most of these alien books that were on the shelf. Were you a bookworm, sensei? Izuku asked curiously. Oh, these books. Nah, most of them were just about intergalactic proceedings and laws, plumber protocols and all that. Honestly, it was a struggle to even stay awake trying to memorize them all, Ren replied. As Izuku continued to scan the bookshelf, there was a set of volumes that he had recognized almost immediately. Hey, I know these books, Izuku exclaimed as he took out a comic from the bookshelf. I knew it. This is the 3rd issue of the amazing wall crawler hero, Spider Ray. You know it, Ren replied excitedly. Know it. These are rare collector's editions from nearly 40 decades ago. I've only ever read the issues online, but to actually see one in mint condition is an event of a lifetime, Izuku replied as he flipped through the pages. I know this issue. This is the chapter when Rainer Rucker meets the octopus villain, Professor Kraken, for the first time. I didn't know you had these, sensei. Well, these were originally Devlin's back when we were still teenagers. He lent them to me to read whenever I had time. Read the first 2 issues, then I was instantly hooked, Ren replied as he looked at Izuku flipping through the pages. Gotta say, thought you were an All Might fanboy. I was, but I still liked to read these old comics as a kid, especially Captain Canada. He reminded me of All Might and how he was able to always turn the tables on the enemy, despite only getting a performance enhancer drug. But my favorite was always Spider Ray. I always thought he was so cool, Izuku stated as he jumped onto Ren's bed and made a pose similar to Spider Ray's on the comic. Meet Rainer Rucker, an ordinary delivery boy who was one day bitten by a radioactive spider and granted spider-like powers. After the death of his beloved grandfather, Len Rucker, he vowed to use his powers for the sake of everyone and fight crime wherever it may be as Spider Ray, the wisecracking friendly neighborhood superhero. Villains beware, here comes the amazing Spider Ray, Izuku narrated in a deep and comical tone. Ren looks at a page that the book had landed on. The panels show Spider Ray taunting Professor Kraken with bad jokes as he continued to fight him. Ren smiles as he picked up the issue, looking at the laughing Spider Ray as he does. Izuku looks back and quickly jumps off of Ren's bed. Sorry for jumping on your bed, sensei. I just got a bit excited, Izuku replied as he chuckled. You know, now that I think about it, sensei, the way you act when you fight and talk to villains, it's kind of like how Spider Ray acts. Ren then closes the issue and slides it back into the bookcase. Yeah, he was a big inspiration for me and the kind of hero I wanted to be when I was around your age. Ren replied. Throughout the comics, hardly anything ever went right for Rainer Rucker. Despite everything, no matter how many times he thought about quitting, he always put on a smile and found the courage to bet on himself. That to me was so damn cool. There is a moment of silence as Ren stared blankly at the bookcase, smiling softly as he does. Izuku then reaches out towards Ren and places his hand on his shoulder, breaking Ren out of his trance and making him turn to face Izuku. Sensei, are you okay? Izuku asked with a worried tone. Ren chuckles and rubs Izuku's hair playfully, chuckling as he does. It's still a million years too early for you to be worried about me, kid, Ren said with a bright smile. Right then, let's get back to why we're here in the first place. Ren then walks to the other side of the bookcase and begins to slide it over. Izuku stares at Ren, confused by what he's doing. Then, Ren kneels down to the corner of where the bookcase once was. He lifts up the small metal panel much to Izuku's surprise, who jogs over quickly to see what the lifted panel revealed. Ren then takes out a small circular object wrapped in a small red and tattered piece of cloth. Ren turns to face Izuku and places the object on the ground. What's this, sensei? Izuku asked. Sit, Ren replied as he gestured to Izuku. Izuku does as instructed and sits down in front of Ren. Ren then takes a long and deep breath, as if reopening a deep and old wound. He finally proceeds to unravel the cloth. Izuku watches with the utmost attention as he waited. Ren pulls back the last strand of cloth, revealing a black leather bracelet with a medallion carving of a wolf on top of it. The metal has scorch marks and scratches all over it. It had clearly seen better days. The metal has scorch marks and scratches all over it. It had clearly seen better days. A bracelet, Izuku muttered. Izuku, you remember when I told you about my past as the leader of the Red Hunters? Ren asked with a voice of seriousness. Yes, Izuku replied. This bracelet was mine. It was given to me as a gift from my sensei, Ben 10,000 on my 16th birthday. He told me that this was meant to represent that the Blood Wolf of Vilgoden was reborn, no longer being an agent of chaos but rather a defender of justice. A bit dramatic in my opinion, but I thought it looked cool, so I wore it. Ren explained before taking a long pause. Sensei told me that in Norse culture on Earth, a wolf represented courage, strength, and freedom. He used to call me Young Wolf for my codename. Even when I turned 18, he still called me that, no matter what I had managed to accomplish on my own. Ren then takes the bracelet and holds it out to Izuku. I want you to have it, Ren stated. What? But that's a gift your late sensei gave you. Are you sure you want me to have it? Izuku asked. Listen, I have a lot of regrets, Izuku, ones that may never ever be redeemed or justified, no matter how much I may try to reason with them or how many people tell me that it's all in the past. But this won't be one of them. Listening to your speech back at the Central Hub, I realized that we're not so different from one another. Like you, I felt blessed to have been offered a chance at a new path from my sensei. It was because of that gratitude that I wanted to join the Plumbers, to be able to change my old ways, to experience things I would have never been able to had I never been forced off that path, to show gratitude to my sensei for finally saving me and choosing me as his successor. I want you to know that choosing you to be my successor is not one of those regrets, not even close. In fact, it was probably the best damn decision I made in my entire life, Ren replied. Izuku loses his breath at the sound of Ren's words, his eyes widening as his chest begins to be filled with pride and confidence, staring at the glistening bracelet as he remains silent. But before I go on, I want to tell you one thing, Izuku, Ren stated. Yes, sensei, Izuku replied. You are who you choose to be, Izuku, Ren replied. Despite what Devlin and Rook said, you're not at all inclined to join the Plumbers if it's not what you want. You're free to be your own hero and make your own choices. I don't want you making choices based on gratitude towards me or anything of the sort. You owe me nothing. It was me that chose you and it was you that chose to accept. Always remember that. You aren't me and you shouldn't be me. You should be Izuku Midoriya. Who he is as a person is completely up to you. So until you're ready to be a hero on your own, will you be my young wolf? Izuku listens silently as he reflects upon Ren's words. He knew that Ren only ever spoke the truth to him, a half-truth here and there, but never a lie. He stares at the bracelet once more, admiring the meaning and story behind it. Sensei, I really wish you could have talked to me about this sooner, Izuku replied. Ren looks up at Izuku, who was smiling softly at Ren. During the combat training I had at school yesterday, I had a chance to really decide and reflect on what I want to accomplish. Before I met you, I simply dreamt about becoming the #1 hero and being able to save everyone with a smile, Izuku said, looking at the Omnitrix on his wrist. But after meeting you, I realized that I had only been looking at the possibilities through a small keyhole in the door. The one who opened that door and showed me everything that laid beyond the door was you. UA was always my goal, ever since I was in middle school. But now, UA is a small step towards the future I'm aiming for. I know that with this Omnitrix, I have to go beyond, like the school motto says, plus ultra. Izuku then stands up and looks at Ren with a confidant gaze. You're wrong about one thing, sensei. You say that I don't owe you anything, but I owe you everything. Ever since you came into my life, I've had nothing but blessings. You taught me how to fight. You gave me the Omnitrix. You taught me to believe in myself. I don't know where I'd be if I never met you, Izuku declared. I promised you, didn't I, that I'd become the top hero in the world. But now I've decided what I wanted to do. After I become the #1 hero on Earth, I want to be the one to introduce Earth to their first alien visitors. I want to learn everything I can from Earth first before I go and visit other planets in the galaxy. That's why. Izuku takes the bracelet eagerly and puts it on his right wrist. He then holds his right fist out towards Ren and smiles. Until I'm an official hero, I will be your young wolf sensei. Please continue teaching me everything you know, Izuku announced. I'll do my best on this mission. We'll get through this together. Ren smiles and stands, returning the fist bump as he returns the bright smiling gaze towards Izuku. You know it, kid, Ren replied confidently. Come on, there's still some time before the mission starts. Let's go mess with Devlin on his ship. Is that really a good idea, sensei? Izuku replied. I mean, you get to see a real spaceship up close, so. Ren replied playfully. Well, when you put it like that. Let's go then, sensei, Izuku exclaimed as he began to run towards the elevator. Oh, you go on ahead. I'll catch up, Ren replied. There's something else I gotta do real quick. But I don't even know where the ships are, Izuku replied. What if I get lost and miss the mission? Remember the path we took before. Go all the way back to the entrance of this section, but just before you reach the entrance, take the hallway on your right. Cafeteria should be right down the hall, can't miss it, Ren instructed. All right then, I'll meet you there, sensei, Izuku replied before hopping onto the elevator and ascending. Once Izuku was out of sight, Ren transformed into Big Chill. Big Chill. Big Chill turns intangible and phases through the floor, reaching the bottom level of the plumber base. Big Chill turns intangible and phases through the floor, reaching the bottom level of the plumber base. He lands in front of the elevator doors and transforms back into Ren. As he walked down the path illuminated by the lights on the floor, blue holograms of multiple different people then appear along the path. Welcome to the Hall of Legends, Magister Ren 10,000, an automated voice announced. Ren ignored the voice and continued to walk down the illuminated path. He then arrives at a flight of stairs leading up to a large platform. Lights all along the stairs turn on one at a time, showing a clear path up. Ren walks up the steps and arrives at the elevated platform. Once he takes a few steps forward, a large blue hologram of Ben 10,000 appears before him. He stares up at the projection and takes a deep breath, gazing at his late sensei's image. Hey sensei, it's been a while. You look good, Ren said to the projection as he sat down. Sorry it took me so long to visit you. Being the #1 hero in the galaxy isn't as easy as you made it look. There's a lot I want to unload onto you, especially about my student. Yeah, can you believe it? He's human, just like us. No, I'm not playing favorites. Since you're not going anywhere anytime soon, how about I indulge your old bones for a bit? Let me tell you all about my student, a quirkless boy from Earth named Izuku Midoriya.